What's up, family? We live. Hope everyone is having a good weekend. Staying safe and had a productive work week. I got a lot of things to discuss on this podcast. The main things being we're gonna talk about a little later in the broadcast is Godfrey's tether ass. Addressing FBAs. And we're gonna get into that, like I said, later on in the broadcast. And we got Wack100 standing on lineage business. Now, oftentimes I don't really agree with Wack100, but in this latest debate I seen him on, with some people from over there outside of the TV, which I don't rock with like that. They took a couple shots at our lineage. He stood on FBA lineage business, so yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little later in the broadcast. But you know, to open up, I want to shout out to the few people that's tapping in with me on this broadcast, and and I hope you staying safe, like I said, and enjoying your weekend, family. But yeah, to open up, I want to talk about something, family, and it's hot as hell down here in Pennsylvania where I'm at. I got my little fan on me today, you know. But yeah, to open up, family, I want to talk about understanding racial dynamics. You know what I mean, between black people and white people, and when to know that the odds are against you. If you're a black person, and racial dynamics exist in every facet of society, from being on the job, to when we encounter police, this, that, and the other, you name it. You know what I mean? Because when we encounter police, as black people, particularly foundational black Americans, we're a prisoner of war. We in a hostile environment, so we got to, act and move accordingly. You know what I mean? Because I see videos left and right where, white culprits, are clearly guilty of doing some kind of nonsense, and they'll even have a gun, pointed at officers, but somehow, they magically, taken into custody, without so much as a scratch on them. But when blacken the system of racism, white supremacy, and you stop by law enforcement, you know what I mean? They'll misuse and abuse you the first chance they get, you know what I mean? And you just reaching for a wallet or something like that, they try to say you have a gun, as a means to go in there and unalive you. So yeah, understanding, racial dynamics is a big thing, family, because when you get stopped by the police, like I said, you are a prisoner of war, you know what I mean? And you got to act accordingly, you know what I mean? So because we need you to make it home at the end of the day in all actuality. But another dynamic I want to talk about is being in the workplace. Racial dynamics exist in the workplace. You know what I mean? Especially when you work in these jobs. Most of these jobs are controlled by the white supremacists at the top. And you working around mostly people from the dominant white society. And I work in a job where I'm like the only other brother there. There's a brother on first shift, but I'm the only brother on my shift, you know what I mean? But I ain't naive to it because, my racial antennas go up. You know what I mean? I know, that most of the people I work with are suspected white supremacists. You know what I mean? And I move accordingly. And really, I don't like, working at jobs where it's this kind of dynamic where we're so outnumbered and ain't got a lot of people on the job. But in this case, I took it. I needed the job. You know what I mean? But I had a situation the other day that occurred on the job. I'm up at the time clock, and this boss, he ain't even my boss on my shift, family, but he's another third shift's boss. I'm on second. So he's sitting there talking about, fishing with another dude. And, somehow black people always got to be the main attraction, foundational black Americans in particular. So he gets to talking about, how black people in the South, were fishing for carp, and mind you, carp is a dirty fish if you know anything about fishing, and we wasn't eating that, and he knows not a damn thing about, black society, you know what I mean? So he's sitting there talking about, carp, they know how to clean it, this, that, and the other, and then, I let that go when he said black people in the South. I was just making sure that I was hearing what I was hearing, but then he kept reiterating, something about slaves. Then I checked them, you know what I mean? What you trying to say? My people is just eating, trash, like we feeding on the bottom. So it got me in my emotions. I got the feeling the kind of way, but dealing with the white supremacist family, you always got to remain control and use intelligence over emotion. But I checked him, you know what I mean, and said, what you talk about, this, that, and the other, you know what I mean? Because if I would have told him his history, how his people come up out of slavery and how his people are tethers, most of them came through, you know, most of his people immigrated here, as well. His people, ain't responsible for building America. The white supremacists tried to build America and they failed, horribly. It wasn't until, they got our ancestors, labor that they was able to get some kind of headway. You know what I mean? So they're tethered in all actuality. But when you remind them of that, you know what I mean, and their culture of degeneracy, the Greeks got a lot of pedophilia that's embedded in their culture. You know what I mean? But when you get to telling them that, then they, want to fire me because I'm the only, black person on the job. But the long and short of it is now that I got to go to, I'm sweating like I don't know what, family. But the long and short of it is now, I let the higher ups know, and I got to go to like a meeting with the HR department, to clear things up. So they probably gonna call me and him in, but I ain't worried about it because that's foundational Black Americans. We stand on business and we hold the line against racism, white supremacy. Because I was just gonna let the job, go, but I'm like, nah, I can't just, quit the job, because I need that little money coming in. And if I quit, it's like I let this white supremacist get the upper hand. You know what I mean? Like I said, we the only real true threat to systematic racism, white supremacy. Because if that would have been a melanated tether, you could bet your last damn dollar that they would have been letting them talk all willy nilly. But we foundational Black Americans were a wild card. So when I go to this meeting, I'm gonna stand on business. But I got to make sure I use intelligence over emotion because they expect Black people to get all emotional in their feelings so they can say and play the victim role and flip everything to go against you. So yeah, just keep your eyes on that, family, that there's damn sure a racial dynamic on these jobs and in every facet of society. And that's even we could take it this route with our brother Cohen Wiley and our other brother Alonzo Brooks. You know what I mean? Sadly and unfortunately, they didn't understand racial dynamics. You know what I mean? Because they were the only Black people, and there's countless other Black people that were the only Black friend in the group. And when you're the only Black person in that particular group, the racial dynamic, flips in their favor, because when there's so many white supremacists, and it's only one Black person, they go into like a pack mentality, family. It's like, them hyenas, they very bold, when there's a whole bunch of them, but when there's a few lions around and the lions represent us foundational Black Americans, they get to run in, they tuck their tail in submission, you know what I mean? But when there's so many of them, they become like, a pack mentality of hyenas, So I just wanted to, bring that to the family. We got to understand, racial dynamics. And peace to the chat. I want to say peace to my brother Black, RU365. Peace to my sister, Miss Span, Her I Am. And thanks that, and peace to everyone that's rocking out with me on this broadcast, family. I'm burning up down here. It's hot as hell where I'm at. Peace to the chat. But yeah, moving right along. Just remember to always keep in your mind, family. If you don't take nothing of what I said, understand racial dynamics. White people are, more often than not, they given immunity in the system of racism, white supremacy. But we, Black folks, we got to be on, alert, and know what kind of system we in so we can, counteract things and move accordingly. Thanks for that, that gift, Miss Span, Her I Am, or whatever that was, sister. I ain't too familiar with the chat, but I see you sent me something. So, peace to you. You always show love. You and my brother Black RU365, And thanks for holding down the chat, brother Black RU365. But moving right along. See the next thing I want to touch on, family. Bear with me. Yeah, family, here we go. These Haitians still whining and crying about that TPS, thing being lifted. There was an extension. We're going to get to that, in the next video. But I want to show y'all the mindset of these foreign fleeing tethers. If they just work so hard like they like to, try to say to us foundational Black Americans, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, this, that, and the third. Why the hell are these people, going to great lengths to whine and cry? The logical thing would be to do is go home to your homeland of origin, which is Haiti, and build that up. They crying about they got gangs, this, that, and the third over there. Well, work to knock that system down. The same way our foundational Black American ancestors worked to knock down the institution of slavery, Jim Crow, redline, and you name it. We always stood on business. These foreign fleeing tethers ain't got a resistance bone in their body to save their body, family. But let's get into it. Fair use.
Right now, the clock is ticking for hundreds of thousands of Haitian nationals living in the U.S. under TPS. In just a matter of hours, their work permits will expire. But that loss will be felt far beyond a paycheck. And Local 10's Glenna Milberg is live down in Little Haiti, where many are gathering at this hour for a last-minute plea to lawmakers. Glenna.
Options are closing very fast, Calvin, and that's what this rally is all about. We've known this fear, this confusion in the community for months, especially in the Haitian community, and now it has this deadline 24 hours from now. Work permits expiring, people becoming deportable. The one option now is Congress. This rally hopes South Florida Congress people are listening. Music may be masking the desperation. Tomorrow, more than 300,000 Haitians living in the United States legally under.
I know I didn't hear something saying immigrants build America. Immigrants couldn't build a damn thing in their homeland. America was built by our foundational Black American ancestors, so cut it out.
Temporary protected status become suddenly deportable, lose their work permits following last month's Supreme Court decision that allows the Trump administration final discretion to end TPS.
I have so many members in my congregation that will be directly affected by such a cruel decision.
A cruel decision. See, the worst thing to these foreign fleeing tethers is have to go home and, face their homeland. That's the stuff of nightmares, They should want to go home and build their homeland, because if they keep on all fleeing all over the damn place, the systems in their country, that, are oppressive and, are keeping them down, ain't being, resolved. Everybody just can't flee over here to American soil. That causes, our economics and things to go through the roof, prices go up over here because everybody's being a drain on the American economy, Some people stand on business and get their homeland together. Somebody got to do it.
Lunchtime at Pimanbuk, 25 years and counting. The regulars know well the fresh urgency.
You cannot tell them to go home like that. Right now, Haiti have so many gangs.
You can't tell them to go home. She said, the hell if we can't. We tell them you ain't got to go home, but you got to get out of the damn USA, the land of FBA that our ancestors built. And if y'all got so much, damn crime and gangs over there, the only logical thing would be to do is a lot of y'all get on code and, work to knock them oppressive systems down that's holding you back, because everybody just can't flee all over the damn place or nothing never changes. Somebody got to stand on some business like us FBAs did.
As of Friday, whole South Florida industries at stake: healthcare, hospitality. The Florida Restaurant Association co-signing this letter to DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen with a dozen groups nationwide pleading for guidance and protections for long-serving, legally authorized workers central to operations.
I have spoken to so many people, and the frustration is so high. The fear is so intense.
Yeah, Miss, whatever your name is, Vin, you saying the Haitian TPS been extended, but you might be a tether. We don't know who you are. And it's been extended, but, they're going to get them out of here. They still getting them out of here, I got videos of tethers, foreign fleeing tethers running around crying left and right that, they getting up out of American soil, so you can miss me with whatever you saying that has been extended, you know what I mean? Go elsewhere with that, but they still going to get their asses up out of here. And it's only been extended for 2 weeks. That's, ain't no type of way to live. These people running around, looking out of blinds and peeping through, windows to, make sure that ice ain't rolling up. I don't know why logically they wouldn't want to go home. You know what I mean? You probably a tether, Miss Van, running interference for them because that's your people.
State Rep Marie Woodson among the state lawmakers scrambling to engage the one option left: Congress to trump the Trump administration's decision.
Some of them say they are trying, but I have not gotten any specific result.
There was actually a bill filed in the House that passed in bipartisan fashion last year. Another bills need to pass. They won't before the options run out 24 hours from now. I'm Glenna Milberg, live in Little Haiti today, Local 10 News.
Yeah, the logical thing will be for these foreign fleeing tethers is just to go home. Why would you, want to constantly look over your shoulders? Go home and build that up. Then you wouldn't have to worry about, ICE, TPS thing being removed. You know what I mean? Pardon me, family. I'm trying to pull up my next video. That tether that came in, she, got my energy all off. We know it's been extended, but 2 weeks, that's nothing, and that could be, lifted at any time, Once that 2 weeks runs out, then what, pull up the next video. Bear with me, family. Is this it? I think this is it. Fair use.
And right now at 3:30, deportation fears are once again sweeping across South Florida.
This all comes as temporary protected status for Haitians was supposed to come.
Yeah, family. The family, Cassandra, or I hope I'm pronounced Sandra. I'll just say Sandra. Yeah, you know, they got an uncomfortable stay here. It's been extended for, you know, two weeks, but you know, they still gotta, you know, look over their shoulder, peep out blinds, because once that 2 weeks, you know, and then what the heck they gonna do after that? They should want to go home and, you know, build up their homelands, put all of the effort that they put in to stay over here in America. If they apply some of that to their homelands would be all right and wouldn't be in shambles. But let's continue.
To an end today, but has just been extended for 2 more weeks. And Local 10's Christian De La Rosa is joining us live from Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport after speaking with some of those affected by this. Christian.
Christy, this is a major development. The news breaking just this afternoon. TPS for Haitians, which was supposed to come to an end today, just extended for 2 more weeks till Friday, July 24th. And this news breaking, union members, employees here at Fort Lauderdale International Airport were starting a rally. Take a look.
And the most disrespectful thing, you know, for these foreign, you know, fleeing tethers is, you know, to wave Haitian flags while over here on American soil. They ain't got no damn, you know, ethnic pride, because if they got ethnic pride, they will be back in, you know, Haiti, working to build that up, you know, not fleeing all over the damn place. So they don't want their countries to do good. You know, they don't got no damn, affinity toward their country. You know, they flee all over the damn place, you know. They're the most people that's against their homelands of origin is these foreign tethers.
Fort Lauderdale Airport is a Haitian airport, right? And
Fort Lauderdale Airport ain't no damn, you know, Haitian airport. You know, they infiltrated, you know, Florida down there. You know, they've, inserted themselves, you know, into every facet of Florida. But, you know, that don't mean that Florida's theirs. You know, they fled, you know.
the Haitian community, Haitian TPS holders are the backbone of not just Fort Lauderdale Airport, but Broward County.
There's one group of people who is not in this room who I do want to call on here today, and that is our employers. While our members who are on TPS are taking the risk of standing up, there is a clear silence among our employers who should be standing up for their workers.
Yeah, they need to get rid of all these damn foreign fleeing tethers, family, because it's a real strain on the economy over here on American soil. And I'm convinced that's why we seeing all of these prices, you know, go through the roof, because, you know, everyone's fleeing over here, you know. But they deporting them, you know, a lot nowadays. You know, they deporting thousands of them, you know, to their homelands of origin.
So if we are able to pull that video back up, this was a gathering of not just union workers, but people with TPS, Haitian TPS, right here at FLL. Airport officials tell us that there are close to 200 of them who work here at concession.
It might have been extended 2 weeks, but they, you know, still got to look over their shoulders. You know, they going peeping out of blinds. You know, they uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And they should be. And that TPS thing should be removed quick, fast, and in a hurry. They need to stop extending it, if you ask me.
Stands and also for the airlines. And as you heard right there, a lot of these union members calling out not just the Trump administration, not just their employers, but also so many of these companies that hire these TPS workers who they were expecting, hoping they would also show up at this rally here today. So back out here live. Again, the breaking news this afternoon is that
them companies ain't worried about, you know, them foreign fleeing tethers. They might be worried about, you know, they will do the work for like, crumbs, and they don't got to give them no decent wages or benefits like health care, but they ain't worried about these damn foreign fleeing tethers. They just worried about, the cheap, pay they got to give them, the pay wages. They'll throw them up under the bus at the drop of a dime. And evidence of that is, the damn jobs that employed them didn't show up.
TPS for Haitians has been extended for 2 more weeks. DHS citing active litigation as we continue to monitor what happens next.
Yeah, family, but yeah, they need to get these foreign fleeing tethers out of here. If you ask me, I don't support, the mass immigration to the U.S. I'm more in favor of, them staying in their homelands and working to make that better, because everybody just can't keep on fleeing all over the damn place. But family, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. I gotta get me a sweat rag. I'm sweating like I don't know what down here, but I'll be right back. Bear with me. Okay, family, I'm back. I had to grab me up a rag real quick. Sweating too much down here, but let me pull the next video up, family. Bear with me.
I've been trying to get.
See, family, I keep telling y'all, never let these, tethers, they running around saying, deportations.
Trying to get me to go.
Deportations and things like that ain't popping off like that. They getting these tethers out of here left and right. You know what I mean? Even though they extended that TPS status thing, they still getting them out of here left and right. And here's a FBA sister. She was married to Jamaican tether. They deported his narrow ass, back to Jamaica. So I got the audio and the video of that, and we're gonna walk through and make it do what it do, family. Fair use.
You may not see the images as often, but immigration arrests are still taking place. Right now, more than 80% of the cases end in deportation. WGN's Lourdes Duarte introduces you to a couple.
That's a high number. 80% of the cases, you hear that, family, is ending in deportations. They getting these narrow tethered asses out of here, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Caught up in the system.
An estimated 13 million people in the U.S. hold green cards. They're not citizens. They're legal permanent residents, a documented status that for years felt secure. Not anymore. A former Chicago area official who spent 30 years working inside the federal immigration system is beginning to share her experience and weighed in on the case of a Jamaican man suddenly arrested and fearing deportation.
We have a lot of mutual friends, and so
they living in fear. Why would you want to, be over here, with your paperwork not right and exact? Why don't you take all of that, that you putting in to stay over here in America, and so you take all of that energy and apply it to your homeland, and your homeland will be all right,
We eventually met.
These days, Benji Lindsay shares her husband's story through pictures from family gatherings to.
And like I said, this sister FBA, she should have went and got her a good FBA brother instead of, laying up with some foreign fleeing tether, Now she's running interference on, behalf of this foreign fleeing tether.
Romantic vacations.
They kind of been trying to get me to go out with him for almost probably about 6 months before that. And I kept saying, no, I wasn't interested.
She eventually caved and married him 6 years ago. They've been together ever since, until 3 months ago when the couple returned from a trip to Jamaica and her husband, who has lived in the U.S. for 30 years, was stopped by an immigration agent at O'Hare.
She was very nice, and she was like, unfortunately, we're, due to new regulations and further screening process, we're going to detain him.
That was the last time she saw him. Dayton Lindsay is in the U.S. legally. He has a valid green card and has traveled to his home country.
What they trying to get you to do is think this Jamaican tether's civil rights is being violated. You know, he got crimes on him. You know what I mean? He got a police record. And when you over here on like a green card, or you know, when you ain't a U.S. citizen, you know, when you commit a crime, you know, that's you know, written in the law to where as though they could deport your narrow tether ass back to your homeland of origin. So they ain't breaking no. They'll tell you that later on in this video. They ain't breaking no laws and deporting him. You know, he committed crimes. He got crimes on his record.
Of Jamaica many times before. So he never expected to be detained by immigration. His story is similar, though, to others we've heard before as immigration arrests rise.
Things are different than they ever used to be.
Nobody knows that better than Gail Montenegro. She spent 30 years working within the immigration system, including its courts. She retired recently and is now beginning to speak up about the changes she's seeing.
I think everyone in the system is under a great deal of pressure to increase numbers, increase arrests, increase removals.
She's a Latino tether herself, so she running interference, you know, because she's a foreign fleeing tether herself.
Some of that has played out on camera.
Yeah, brother Black RU365, I really don't have no sympathy. You know, I'm not in favor of all of this mass immigration to the U.S. because it, you know, takes away resources that should have been going to foundational Black American brothers and sisters to begin with. Not to mention it's a strain on the economy over here. And if they take that same mindset and psyche, you know, of trying to fight so hard to stay on over here and apply it to their homeland to be all right. They wouldn't need to flee and worry about ICE.
As immigration arrests by federal agents made headlines, she helped us make sense of Dayton Lindsay's case as the couple made the rare move of sharing their experience over the last 3 months with us, even before a final decision is made by a judge.
So were you thinking like, okay, let's go with it?
That's daytime.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Yeah, answer.
We were there when her husband called home. He says he has lost 25 pounds while detained first at Broadview, then Indiana, and now Kentucky.
From Monday to Friday, I have to drink water out of my hands.
And how's the food?
That's terrible.
Do you get any fruits and vegetables?
Since I've been here, vegetables, no.
It's very hard to explain or for him to grasp that he's being detained and has been detained so long and hasn't committed a crime.
So what led to that immigration arrest? We looked through documents.
See, they didn't do this unjustly. It wasn't something that they, you know, pulled out of the sky. This dude got a criminal record, you know, and the part that they ain't saying is when you over here and you ain't a citizen and you want a green card or something, you still a guest in America. You can't be going around committing crimes, you know, and there's something in laws to where, though, when you do commit crime, they can get rid of your narrow tether ass.
That detail prior traffic tickets, a DUI, and a domestic battery charge. All of those were more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, Miss Span, they do need to send him home, you know, ASAP.
Though, in that time, he's traveled to and from the U.S. repeatedly. In a court document, the judge writes the court recognizes that some of these offenses individually are not particularly serious, but in total, they show a habitual disregard for the law.
Even though he was eligible for bond, the immigration judge denied his release. And so this, to me, is an example of how the administration's enforcement strategy is becoming stricter. In order for that domestic violence conviction to be a deportable offense, historically it would have to have a sentence of a certain amount of time or more, and this didn't rise to that threshold.
So far, the couple has spent $40,000 to fight the case in court, but say numbers are not in their favor. Here's a look at the number of Illinois deportations. You can see the trend over the last few years. In May, nearly 4,500 Illinois cases.
You don't let these tethers, you know, say that they ain't getting deportations, you know, popping this, that, and the other, and that birthright citizenship thing, you know, didn't get abolished for them, that no deportations is happening. You know, they still deporting these narrow, musty tethers quick, fast, and in a hurry.
ended in deportations, something the Lindsays aren't prepared for.
Jamaica's not his home. It hasn't been his home for a long, long time.
Jamaica is his home. That's where his ancestors come from. That's where his mom and dad is most likely from. Just because you over here in America, they still, got lineage over there. So that is their homeland. Stop running interference. And like I said, this is an FBA system, and that's we see though too, like people that are opposed to our FBA lineage, that be like, people that's, married and laying with tethers also, you know what I mean? Try to run interference for them.
And the reality of it is that if he is deported, then our whole lifestyle would change.
The Trump administration has said there
should have got you a decent FBA brother. You wouldn't have had to worry about none of that nonsense, deportation, looking over your shoulder, ICE vans pulling up.
Their stricter measures are a way to close immigration loopholes. Right now, Cook County has the second highest number of pending immigration deportation court cases. That means Dayton Lindsay's case is a common experience, whether you're documented or not. He heads to court at the end of the month, not giving him much time to mount his case and perhaps convince a judge to allow him to stay in the U.S. I'm Lourdes Duarte, WGN Investigates.
Yeah, family, I just wanted to show y'all that. And we're going to keep on exposing these foreign fleeing tethers, too. I got another video on these tethers out of India who were running a massive crime, like a crime syndicate, across different countries and stuff like that. They got their narrow tether asses, though, And this is why I ain't for, the mass immigration thing to the U.S. either, because a lot of these foreign fleeing tethers, they weren't worth a damn in their homeland. And they bring that same mind and psyche over here. They were doing, crimes and finesses in their homeland left and right. They ain't going to change just because they over here. Here we go. Indian tethers running, crime brackets. Fair use.
In India. Federal agents were seen at this location in Highland Park cracking down on an international crime ring based in India.
See, an international crime, ring based in India. These foreign fleeing tethers ain't worth a damn. And they like to sit up and talk about, made up crime in the FBA community. These foreign fleeing tethers, got large crime syndicates where they running scams and finesses. And FBA society on our worst day, we ain't got no damn nonsense like, crime syndicates, spanning different countries and things like that. These tethers like to do a lot of projecting,
NBC4's Camilla Rambaldi is live in Highland Park with the ties here. Camilla.
Yeah, hi, Annabelle. As you mentioned, federal agents were right here this morning in the middle of this neighborhood here in Highland Park, and federal officials are calling this Operation Hardball, and they say it's an investigation involving a murder and
Operation Hardball, getting the tethers out of the paint, ASAP.
And drug trafficking. Let's get you right to some.
Shout out to my brother Mad Dog Williams.
Video from this morning when FBI agents could be seen around this home in Highland Park off of North Avenue. It is still unclear exactly what they were looking for at this location, but authorities did confirm the operation.
Look at these tethers. This is why the delineation is important also. They'll see some melanin in the skin and try to, dump their criminal degenerates on the FBA society, and delineation stopped all that because we forcing these foreign fleeing tethers to take care of their own garbage. They got to hold that L.
Operation was tied to the investigation. The feds have unsealed a total of 3 indictments here. 37 people are now facing charges of racketeering.
They need to deport their narrow tether asses, fleeing tethers back to their homeland of origin.
And drug trafficking. The DOJ says a total of 23 search warrants were conducted in the Sacramento.
And then they like to say, FBAs is, putting out a false narrative that FBAs sell drugs, this, that, and the other, when these damn tethers are the ones, with the cartels and that's bringing the drugs into the communities. You know what I mean? These tethers got a hell of a nerve, you know what I mean? But they'll never in a million years address nothing like this.
Area and 11 of them in the Los Angeles area. Authorities say these arrests come after a years-long investigation. The FBI released these photos of the people arrested in California, and some of the other locations include Fresno, Cypress, and San Diego. Federal authorities say the arrests are in connection with 3 crime groups based in India. They also say they are looking for
They got crime syndicates going on over there in India. You know what I mean? We in FBA society ain't got no damn nonsense going on like this. This is why, these foreign fleeing tethers are, detrimental to being over here on American soil. They bring all sorts of weird crimes and, degeneracy to the community. That's why delineation is important, because it clears up, a lot where a lot of these damn, crimes is coming from. They ain't, getting to dump them on us.
For additional fugitives, 7 in the U.S., 2 in India, and 1 in Europe. The feds allege the groups were running their networks across the country as well as in Canada, Europe, and Australia, according to.
Damn shame. This wasn't no little, crime thing they had going on. It's India, I think they said Canada, so these damn tethers were running a large scale crime operation.
The U.S. Attorney's Office, the alleged crimes range from targeted killings, shootings, extortion, and the trafficking of meth and cocaine across international.
You name it. These damn foreign fleeing, tethers out of India probably had their hands in, every, element of crime,
Borders. Here was more from officials this morning when the arrests were announced.
We will use the full weight and power of the United States federal government to identify.
This is why I ain't for that mass immigration thing, family. I'm going to keep on reiterating that because these tethers weren't worth a damn in their homeland. They was running scams and finesses, unaliving people, and they bring that same mindset and psyche over here to American soil. You know what I mean?
Target and dismantle these organized crime groups who prey on American communities.
During the investigation, FBI agents and law enforcement officials seized over 1,000 kilograms of drugs and dozens of weapons.
They dealing in kilos, family. You know what I mean? These are the tethers that's bringing it over. You know what I mean? And they like to, say, well, FBAs is doing this, hustling. FBAs ain't the ones, even if we got a case here or there where a brother might be hustling, we ain't the ones bringing it in. It's these damn, foreign fleeing tethers, and they running, scams and crime syndicates that stretch not only over here in America but different nations. These damn tethers are detrimental, and that's why that we see a drop in crimes that they say what was the black community's crimes. That's why we see a drop in that, because delineation is clearing up a lot of this nonsense, because most of the so-called crimes that they were saying were ours were really coming from the tether class, but delineation has stopped a lot of that nonsense.
Weapons. Through a pattern of intimidation and violence, members and associates of this organized crime group have victimized business owners, threatened individuals and their families, and retaliated with assaults, kidnappings, shootings, and other violent.
This sounds just like an Indian mafia out of India. The way they making it, intimidating business owners. There's probably finessing money out of them, to make them pay for protections, you name it.
Acts to enforce their criminal demands.
Back out here live, we did try to speak with neighbors here today. They did not want to comment. Again, 37 people here now facing charges in connection with Operation Hardball. We're live in.
Don't just make them face charges. Get their narrow asses and, deport them back to India. Get them away from America.
Highland Park, Camilla Rambaldi, NBC.
Yeah, family, I just wanted to show y'all that these tethers, they bring a lot of, crimes and, weird degeneracy over here to American soil. This is why I ain't for the mass immigration thing, And, yeah, family, I want to show y'all something I came across, too. Let me pull it up. We still, going to be keeping this FBA freight train on course with these foreign fleeing tethers. I got another story I want to show y'all where these damn Asian Chinese business owners, who sell like Chinese food and things like that, they got deplorable, conditions inside of these Asian and Chinese restaurant establishments. Roaches, mice, you name it. And they probably serving up cats and dogs while I'm at it. But that's the part they ain't going to put out there. Pull it up. Fair use.
Among the 5 violations.
My computer be glitching. Now, this is P.F. Chang's, like a Asian restaurant where they serve like Chinese food and things like that. Deplorable conditions, mice, roaches in the facility, this, that, and the other. And then when they went in there trying to, see what was going on, the news reporters, the people inside the establishment, the workers trying to play dumb. But let's get into it. Fair use.
From the Galleria Mall down to Flagler Street, state food safety inspectors have been busy.
Recent violations range from a dead fly in food to sewage backing up through floor drains. Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinseer has tonight's Dirty Dining report.
We weren't the only ones headed into P.F. Chang's in the Galleria Mall. The exterminator was as well.
And I just exposed a Cuban tether running around saying how the FBA boycott going, and I like eating Chinese food. You know, I ain't gonna stop eating it. You know, eat it if you want. You know, it's deplorable conditions in them Chinese restaurants, and they serving cats and dogs. You know, we don't need no damn Chinese food as foundational Black Americans. We got our own soul food spots, you know, which serves up bomb food, and we ain't got to worry about, you know, getting cats and dogs on the menu. But let's continue.
And I wanted to talk to somebody about the inspection and the roach issue.
Are you serious?
Am I serious? Yeah.
Wow.
This P.F.
She playing dumb like she don't know what's going on. Are you serious? Yeah, he's serious, you know. Probably filleting cats and dogs in there too.
P.F. Chang's located at
fair use.
2418 East Sunrise Boulevard, and among the 5 violations that led to an emergency closure, live roaches spotted under a dishwasher next to a fryer. There was food.
You hear that, family? Live roaches next to a dishwasher, they said, in a fryer. You know, and fryers is where, you know, all they fried food goes, you know? Damn shame.
Debris buildup in the kitchen. A soda gun nozzle at the bar was soiled. The executive chef comes out.
You mean not at this time?
I can't talk to anybody.
Not at this time.
At what time could I talk to somebody?
They know that restaurant got a lot of, you know, nonsense and BS going on. That's why they don't want, you know, to talk to the news reporter.
You can come back in a couple of days and we'll have something for you.
Need some kind of foreign fleeing tether. You hear the accent on that tether? I don't know where he from.
Back in a couple of days and you'll have something for me. Okay, no comment now about roaches.
At this time, no comment.
To Flagler Street down in Miami and Chang's Chinese, where employees flee when they see
Chang's Chinese, you see him fleeing? You know, the news reporter even said that. His narrow tether ass ran on back in the establishment.
See the camera. Can I talk to you about the inspection, sir? The address here, 1160.
And that's your Chinese restaurant for you, family. That's why, you know, I'm glad, you know, we're removing support from these Asian tether business owners. You know what I mean? Because these people weren't worth a damn. You know what I mean? They come in the FBA community, exploit that FBA dollar. You know what I mean? And now that we ain't been supporting them, you know, we blacked them out. In large part, you know, a lot of FBA businesses are, you know, thriving and doing well. And that's what I love, you know. You don't want to eat this filth anyway. You don't know if you're getting a cat or a dog or whatever the hell you're getting served up.
Before West Flagler Street, 25 violations found here last week. The doors ordered shut.
25 violations in that, you know, Chinese restaurant. The doors are ordered shut.
Roaches found in the kitchen, right on the floor, inside storage cabinets. That's a repeat violation. A stop sale ordered on.
Thanks for holding down the chat, my brother, Black RU365. Big shout out and salute to you. I appreciate you. Peace to my sister, Vera Sanders.
Several food items being held at unsafe temperatures, including shrimp, chicken, beef, pork, and noodles.
They said beef, pork, noodles, and shrimp and things like that being stored at unsafe temperatures. And that could cause sickness, family. You know what I mean? You got to have those shrimp, especially like seafood and poultry, stored at the right temperature. You get sick behind that kind of nonsense.
I want to talk to you about the inspection.
Look at him covering his face, you know what I mean? Because he know he's doing a bunch of nonsense in there. You know, he probably got roaches, rats, you know, you name
it. Not far, also on Flagler Street, is Beijing Garden. Can I talk to you about the recent inspection?
Another Chinese restaurant, you know.
Inspection, sir. Beijing Garden also ordered shut last week. 27 violations spotted. A stop sale ordered issued after the inspector observed a dead fly on pork ribs in the prep area.
Dead a fly on pork ribs. Makes no damn sense.
There was an objectionable odor in the dining room. An inspector saw raw sewage on the ground of the establishment. You had a dead fly on food and you have the back door wide open.
Will you fix everything okay? No, nothing.
But the back door is open. Flies can get in.
No, just come in.
Sandra says, don't eat out. I cook my own. I bake a lot. My bread, butter, buttermilk, just to name a few. yeah, you probably better off eating at home. Nowadays, especially eating from these damn tethers, you don't know what the hell you being served up in these, Asian tether establishments. Cat, dog, and support FBA businesses if you want to go out. There's a lot of, FBA brothers and sisters. They got restaurants, soul food restaurants doing good business, and you leave out of there, you feel good, because you supported your people and you get a good tasting meal, you know what I mean? And you ain't got to worry about these deplorable conditions, But yeah, let's continue.
I'm not ready. The back door is open and you had a dead fly on ribs. Sewage issues, ordered shut. Please. Well,
he's saying, please don't have a dirty ass establishment, and then the news reporter wouldn't be there, reporting on it.
well, I mean, you're serving people food.
He acting like the news reporter doing him a disservice. He got that dirty, janky ass establishment. But let's continue.
How are you? We moved to Northwest Miami-Dade. As we were walking in, an inspector was walking out. Across from Miami-Dade College North is Conch Heaven, the address 11275 Northwest 27th Avenue. On Monday.
Yeah, Black RU365 says state is at fault. They inspect the heck out of black-owned businesses. I know. Yeah, they do a bunch of nonsense when it comes to black-owned businesses. You know what I mean? But they'll let these tethers, operate, serving cats and dogs, roaches, mice in the kitchen, you name it. Bunch of nonsense.
An inspector was here based on a complaint, found 14 violations. Is there someone I can talk to regarding the inspection? No. Inside, no one's willing to talk.
That looked like some kind of African tether, hiding behind the wall right there, family. You see him peeping behind the wall?
The inspector noted roaches under a prep table in the kitchen, on the floor by a triple sink. There was a flying insect issue. There was mold in the ice machine. I wanted to talk to somebody about being ordered shut for roaches and cleanliness issues. Leave the premises? Okay. All the places mentioned allowed to reopen following an ordered cleanup and then a reinspection. Jeff Weinseer, Local 10 News.
Yeah, family, you probably better off, like the sister said in the chat, eating at home, because you can control the quality of the food, you know what I mean? And it's healthier when you cook it at home, you know what I mean? It ain't heavily processed like these restaurant food, and you don't know what the hell can drop in your food at these restaurants. Roaches and, you name it, running around in the kitchen. You don't want that nonsense. But I'm glad, we ain't supporting these Asian tether businesses, like these Chinese restaurants, because, like I said, we seeing a resurgence in FBA, supporting FBA businesses, and keeping the FBA dollar in our community. And I love that, But if you're new to my channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm always, standing on lineage business and speaking up for the FBA family, But moving right along. See the next thing I want to touch on. Yeah, now we got to get into the exposing these white supremacists. Pull the video up. Bear with me.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it. Just details of this next.
Now we got 4 suspected white supremacist family who was essaying a young girl, a 14-year-old, you know what I mean? But they don't put the news spotlight on these kinds of stories. They try to sweep it up under the rug, to not put a negative stigma over white society. But on my channel, we got to expose these kind of degenerate acts, you know what I mean? Because they like to always, amplify, the false narrative of there being black crime, on the news and the TV, left and right. But they'll never in a million years, show these white supremacists doing these type of degenerate acts, And the proof is in the pudding. This video only got like a few hundred views on it and, 13 likes, and that's because the algorithm don't try to push, white people doing degenerate nonsense, you know what I mean? But we're going to expose it. So I got the audio and the video of it, family. Let's make it do what it do. Fair use.
Now, the details of this next story may be tough for some of you to hear. Got 4 men who face sex crime charges this morning after a grand jury indicted them on accusations they raped a girl under the age of 13. A grand jury in St. Tammany Parish indicted the 4 men you see.
See them white supremacist suspects, family? They try to sweep this kind of, degeneracy under the rug all the time when it's coming from people that got the complexion for the protection, because this SA mentality, is heavily embedded in the white culture, if you ask me.
Here, Caleb Risen of Kentwood, Lewis Willis of Baton Rouge, Chris Newman of Madisonville, and Jacob McDonald of Violet. District Attorney Colin Sims says all four face several charges, including rape involving a victim under the age of 13.
And these kind of, individuals get off with a slap on the wrist, and you got, black folks, that are given, buku numbers, just for, a traffic infraction, this, that, and the other, in a system of racism, white supremacy that we under and that we in, white crimes more often than not get swept under the rug, in favor of I'm white and I say so. It's a different judging mechanism in the so-called justice system. Black people are more often times, held to, more steeper and harsher punishment than our, white counterparts. And we got to always expose that, white supremacist system, family, and never take our eyes off of it. Because like I said, they weren't even trying to, get this video in the algorithm. It only got a couple hundred views, and that's them trying to sweep it up under the rug to protect whiteness, But these damn white degenerates, deserve to be thrown up under the jail. We're moving right along. Came across this video over here on YouTube, family. A FBA brother down there in Georgia, he had like some kind of market, like where you get fresh produce and stuff like that. He has fruit and vegetables, and he's down there in some town in Georgia. I don't know the town. I don't want to get the line, but this brother had a racial slur.
An act of hate aimed at a black-owned Atlanta farmers market is being met with an overwhelming show of support.
Don't want to cooperate sometimes with me, but yeah, he had a racial slur in the form of an N-word somebody carved into a watermelon, the N-word, and that's a bunch of nonsense. But in this anti-black racist act that most likely white supremacists are one of they collaborating tethers done, in all of that, this brother is getting supported by the FBA community. Now this is bringing FBAs out, something that they thought they was gonna, racially attack this brother. It's bringing FBAs out to support this brother in large part, and that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Because like out of all of the stuff we going through dealing with these tether establishments, it's a resurgence going on to where though the FBA dollar is going back into our businesses, which is keeping that in the FBA community. But let's get into it, family. Fair use.
An act of hate aimed at a black-owned Atlanta farmers market is being met with an overwhelming show of support after the owners say someone carved a racial slur into one of these watermelons. Channel 2's Ashley Lincoln talked.
And you know why the white supremacists will be mad at this brother owning a fresh foods market, family? Because that's a part of nation building, like our brother Tariq always says. You know what I mean? Because that's why they took down the Black Panthers. It wasn't because, what they were trying to say, they were radical, this, that, and the third. It was because, they was feeding the black youth. And, when you could feed a community, especially when you feed your own black folks, that's a part of nation building. That's what the white supremacists don't like. And when they see that, they want to pump fear and intimidation and try to sabotage black progress in that regard. This brother, owning his own fresh foods market and, serving fruits and vegetables, that's, benefiting the black community. You're getting fresh, whole food, not heavily processed food. And they look at this as a threat to systematic racism, white supremacy.
Talked with customers at the Ellenwood business who travel more than an hour to support them.
Yeah, business has finally started to slow down out here all day. The community has been showing up in numbers to support.
All day that brother getting business. That's a beautiful thing.
This locally owned, black-owned farmers market after they say someone carved a racial slur into a watermelon.
We got some plums, definitely a watermelon, big watermelon, some sweet potatoes. Yeah.
It's an hour and a half drive from Burnsville.
And the white supremacists love to use like watermelons as a slur against black people or some racial, way to target us by saying we eat watermelons. And ain't a damn thing wrong with, eating watermelons. It provides nutrients, it gives you hydration. It's one of the most best foods if you need to be hydrated. You should be eating a watermelon, and we understood that, as a foundational Black American collective. That's why we cultivated, watermelons, back in the days. My grandfather, my grandfather, he was growing watermelons, had his own little business, here and there doing watermelons, So yeah, we understood the powerful, benefits that, watermelons produce, and had.
Georgia, but Stephanie Wiley says making the trip was an easy decision to support a Black-owned business targeted by a racial slur.
We saw it on social media, and for one, it's Black-owned, and we
White supremacists thought that them putting a racial slur or getting a tether class to put a racial slur because, in all actuality, that's who done it. They thought that that would deter this brother, but it worked out, it backfired on him because it worked out for the brother. Now the brother's getting that FBA dollar, more so he's getting his money on.
Definitely want to support our Black-owned businesses. Co-owner of Atlanta Harvest, a Black-owned farmers market in Ellenwood, says he made the disturbing discovery last month after dropping watermelons at a local community center.
When I got out of the car and took a look at the watermelon, that's when I seen the racial slur carved into it. And I was taken aback. I was very surprised.
We're blurring the photo from Atlanta Harvest's social media page. The N-word is carved across a watermelon. The owners say about a week ago, they received another racist message.
Somebody texted our number.
They're trying to fear and intimidate that brother off of, feeding the community and nation building because he's offering fresh foods to, Black folks. And this is what we need more so in the community where you can go get fresh fruits and vegetables and things like this, and this, is giving a slap in the face to racism, white supremacy, because they don't like Black folks, being able to, feed the community because that's nation building.
Making threats about doing damage to the farm, using the N-word. So, yeah, it's weird. It's obviously targeted, specific.
The audacity. The business shared the incident on social media.
We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Our work is too important. The food that we provide to the community is too important.
Instead of spreading hate, the post inspired support.
It was demoralizing and it was sad. It saddened us.
It backfired on the white supremacists. This brother getting his money on, as a result of them thinking that they displaying anti-Black racism. It worked out for the brother. It's putting cash flow into the brother's business.
You know what I'm saying? To the point, man, where we was like, well, it's time to really support. Barbecue sauce too.
By Friday afternoon, lines stretched outside as customers traveled from across Georgia to stock up on fresh produce and plenty of watermelons.
We had the plan to get out here.
That's a beautiful thing, and when it's local like that, it ain't. It's where it's coming from because a lot of the times they produce even vegetables and fruit with a lot of chemicals, you know what I mean? And this brother, has got something natural and it's local, and they don't like this.
In support.
Atlanta Harvest says what was meant to spread hate instead strengthened its mission.
This wasn't something that I felt was necessarily a threat against my life. It was just somebody doing some evil that wanted to spread some hate.
And the owner said they've reviewed their cameras.
They don't like what that brother's doing because that's a part of nation building. He got fresh produce, he got a farm. He's growing it, you know what I mean? And he's able to, distribute that to the Black community. And they don't like this. It's looked at as nation building in the system of racism, white supremacy.
They have not been able to identify who could have been behind this racial slur. They tell us they plan to file a police report. Reporting in Ellenwood, I'm Ashley Lincoln for Channel 2 Action News. Hartsfield Jackson.
Yeah, family, but that's them trying to intimidate that brother to stop selling that fresh produce because, that puts the white supremacists on guard. They get in fear because they know that that's nation building, when you're able to, farm your own land and, produce that and he's supplying the Black community. They don't like that, but I just wanted to show that to the family, but moving right along. Pull up the next video. Yeah, one of my friends sent me this video over there on TikTok. A sister in Delaware getting misused and abused by a race soldier. He put hands and feet on this sister. I don't like this. And this is why we need that FBA hate crimes bill. It's protection and insulation against these racist race soldiers, Let me find it, family. Fair use. Here we go.
Why is he trying to slam her? For what? She's out the car.
Lots of people have lots of questions about this video out of Dover, Delaware, posted to a public social media site.
Happened in Dover, Delaware. A sister being her civil rights being violated. She being yanked out of a car and she's getting hands and feet put on her by, this race soldier with a badge. And her kids is in the car too, family. So this is a bunch of nonsense, even the young kids having to see, their mother, being mishandled like this, We need an FBA hate crimes bill, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And now part of a state investigation. A state trooper dragging a woman out of a car in front of the kids in the vehicle and then punching and tasing her.
Brother Black RU365 says Google the B1 Rolodex. It helps FBA owned businesses. Yeah, family. If brother Black RE365, said they got a B1 Rolodex where it's nothing but FBA owned businesses. So look that up, family. So that's a good tool to have, so we know who got an FBA business and who don't. Because a lot of people say they got a black owned business, but what kind of black owned you got? You got a foundational Black American business or not? So that's a good tool to assess who got FBA businesses and to weed out a lot of the tether class that's just trying to run up under the guise of having a black owned business. B1 Rolodex, family. But let's continue.
State police leaders would not go on camera, but they put out a statement offering what they hope will add context to what you're seeing here. They want to make clear what happened here actually started about a mile away when the trooper pulled 38-year-old Sierra Hopkins over a little bit earlier. The trooper cited Hopkins here for driving on a suspended driver's license in a car with suspended red.
I don't like this. Whenever, these race soldiers abuse, black life, they try to make it like they were resisting arrest. They didn't stop. They committed traffic infractions. And all of that is nonsense and BS. You know what I mean? And we ain't going to, keep, we ain't going to even acknowledge that, because our sister, I don't give a damn what she has done or didn't do. She still don't deserve to be, beat down in front of her young children. That's a bunch of nonsense.
Registration and no car insurance. The trooper, though, decided to let her keep driving the car.
No car insurance and no registration. That still ain't, a means to be beat down and have hands and feet put on you. We need that FBA hate crimes bill. I always reiterate that, because it's protection and insulation against these race soldiers, Ku Klux Klan members with a badge. Because, if we have that, it'll give them, punishment, because the damn insurance companies that insure these police departments, they'll remove support from them, once there's that put in place, to hold them up to some real judging mechanism. But now, as it stands, we ain't got no real penalties in place, when they harm black life,
But after they argued, decided a little bit down the road to pull Hopkins over and have the car towed, which, by the way, state police say that was the legally proper move the trooper should have made in the first place. Police say she had been cited for the same issues a week earlier, and the trooper originally let her go because she said she was trying to rectify the situation. Hopkins has now been charged with a number of crimes, including resisting arrest, assaulting a law.
Yeah, that sister shouldn't have been charged with a damn thing, resisting arrest. And that's always what they put, when black folks get beat down, they still put a, resisting arrest and assaulting a police officer on them. That's a bunch of nonsense. Where's the damn charges for the racist Ku Klux Klan member with a badge?
Law enforcement officer and endangering the welfare of children. She is now out on.
And I argue that endangering the welfare of children came from the officer, who was beating down his sister in front of her children. That's psychologically traumatizing to a young child.
Bail, and I went to her home to try to get her side of the story, but through a neighbor, she told me she needed to speak first with a lawyer. Governor Matt Meyer put out a statement.
Said they wanted to interview this sister. She told him she had to speak first with a lawyer, and that's what that sister should have done. Get her good legal representation, a good lawyer, sue the pants off of this racist police department. You know what I mean? But just don't get Ben Crump, because Ben Crump only comes out when it's time to make money off of injustices being done to black life. But Ben Crump don't give a damn about black society. He's a bootleg for the DNC, if you ask me.
Saying he had seen this video, adding, policing relies on trust. That trust is not automatic. It is earned every day through mutual respect, integrity, and transparency. He is promising a full investigation of what happened here right outside the Dover Air Force Base. In Dover, Tim Furlong, NBC 10 News.
Yeah, I don't like that, family. Violating that sister's civil rights, slamming her, this, that, and the other. We need an FBA hate crimes bill, quick, fast, and in a hurry. Show y'all something else, family. I gotta pull it up. Bear with me. Now, family, I came across this video over there on TikTok. This FBA sister, spitting bars, rapping truth to power, regarding the lineage. So I got the audio and the video of her, spitting this FBA truth to power, and we're going to walk through and make it do what it do. But I just thought this was interesting. Hopefully they don't hit me for a copyright of, having the beat or whatnot, whatever beat this is.
Why they so mad? Do they want to beat us? Straight out of Texas, we teed up. They want to follow the leader, then turn around and hate us for being us. And no, we not letting up. We on the road just giving it up. Cause ho, we done had enough. Came to collect, this ain't no bluff. And we ain't on nobody. Fucking with us, that's a new body. That's because we from America. We got the guns and we shoot about it. No, this ain't no threat. You playing checkers while we playing chess. Not social respect. No, I'm about to get you on the track. Ain't fucking with nobody. You Africans, nobody. Caribbeans, nobody. You Haitians, nobody.
And that's just telling the truth. It's FBA versus everybody. We standing on this FBA lineage business from here on out, you know. These other groups of people, you know, whatever they going through, they got to hold their own nuts. Don't look to FBA society to come and save the day like we used to do in the days of old. You know what I mean? We solely focused on, you know, lineage business from here on out.
Hispanics, you Asians and nobody. Let me sing it for you. Black Americans ain't fucking with nobody.
And these tethers, you know, like to act delusional while they don't know why this delineation movement is in full swing. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these damn foreign fleeing tethers, you know, Latino ones, Caribbean ones, and African ones came over here to American soil, looked down upon, you know, us FBAs when we paved the way for them to even bring their narrow tether asses on over here and say, pull yourselves up by your bootstrap, you lazy Akada, don't deserve no reparations. They got on cold with the white supremacists, you know, so now they got to hold their own nuts. The delineation movement is whooping on that ass. But let's continue.
Ain't fucking with nobody. No, we ain't fucking with nobody.
You got a tether in here, family.
Nobody.
About to clear him up. I've never seen him.
Nobody. Why they so?
Yeah, we had a tether in here, family. I had to clear him out real quick. You know, these tethers try to come in the room and just throw shit on the wall and see what sticks. You know, to try to derail this FBA freight train. No one or anybody stopping this FBA freight train. You know, it's staying on course. You know, with delineation. You know, getting our reparations claim, this, that, and the other. You know. But let me see the next thing I want to touch on, family. I meant to delete the tether, but I just blocked his comments, you know. He can't comment no more. He just wasting his time punching that air. Tethers try to come and throw shit on the room so we don't have these real discussions. See the next thing I want to touch on. Bear with me, family. Oh, I got it. One of my friends sent this to me from over there on TikTok. Now, I'm going to give you some of the backstory on this, family. This is an African tether who says she came to America and she was Black American. You know, she for sure as hell ain't no Black American. This is why delineation is important and us, you know, putting a foundation on top of Black Americans. Because, you know, they can technically, you know, Caribbean or African tether, you know, say they Black American. You know, this is why the putting the foundational part on there is necessary, you know, because it, you know, isolates who were the people, you know, that, you know, built America, who went through slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, and who didn't flee, you know. And this is the part that got these tethers, you know, all mad, frustrated, and disgruntled because they can't tether on to the lineage no more. We made it, you know, precise and put a designation on it, which is foundational Black Americans. But let's get into it, family. Fair use.
Let me just say this. I am not against people leaving. By all means, do what you want to do. But I'm often hearing some things like, that side is amazing. And it is not. First and foremost, we need to look at the color of our skin.
I think she's talking about, you know, African tethers saying that America is better. You know, like America, you know, is better than Africa. like it's without, racism. We got racism, white supremacy over here in America, the same way, Africans do. But the only difference between us and them foreign fleeing tethers is we stand on FBA business and we fight systematic racism, white supremacy. The same, mindset and psyche they need to adopt over there on America, to get the oppressive systems off of their neck so they can really benefit from the economics and, what the soil got over there. You know what I mean? So we different and cut from a different cloth than them, because when the going gets tough, all they know is put on their flip-flops and get the hell up out of Dodge, unlike us real FBA brothers and sisters who stand on that FBA business.
Here, being black and being abroad is not friendly. I was in America, obviously, I was American, I was black American. So
Then she said she was in America and she was black American. This is why, representing our FBA lineage is important, because anyone could technically say they black American. Obama could say that he's a black American. Wyclef could say that he's black American, but everybody can't say that they foundational. This is why we put the foundational black American part on there, because it, shows who went through slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, who's really the builders and who ain't the builders of America. And that's us foundational black Americans. We the damn builders. These foreign fleeing tether just came to something that was already built, and try to ride off our coattails, and that's why they so mad that they can't do it no more.
now that's even different than being an immigrant in America. It's an extremely different experience. Everyone should go and have a blast, but those stories we hear about people living abroad and how they feel, they are very valid and true. Go ahead.
Yeah, family, but I just want to show y'all that Sister Span, Her I Am, says we can't have nothing. They always want to try to enter our space. Yeah, they want to be us. They want a destiny swap. They want our history, culture and legacy of standing on business. They want it for themselves, but we've closed the door. Everyone ain't invited to the cookout no more. And this is why they mad and frustrated, because that delineation is whooping on that ass. Shout out to the family, FBA for life. Got another video I want to show y'all, family. It's an old video. Somebody posted it over there on TikTok. It was sent to me, but I wanted to share it. I thought it was interesting. Pull it up. I didn't mean to do that. Now, let me give you some of the backstory on this, family. This is a FBA sister down there in Louisiana saying that when Haitians, immigrated there, they had to show them what a bucket, soap and water was, a mop, cleaning utensils. They didn't even know how to clean. This is, shows how we foundational black Americans looked out for these people. We were the only people that carved the way for them to even bring their narrow tether asses on over here, and put them up on game as to what things were and what things weren't. You know what I mean? So that's why when we hear like that Haitian tethered woman went on that podcast and said dirty black Americans, they didn't even know what a damn, soap and a bucket was and a mop, and they had to get schooled by an FBA sister as to just what a mop was. You know what I mean? So these people got a hell of a nerve. And not to mention that Haitian woman, when CPS workers came into her house about, it being in deplorable condition, she had all them children living in there, it was filth and squalor, and we taught these people, what, soap and water in a bucket was and a mop, so they got to give credit to, the lineage of people that are riders, that carved and put a, a lane for everybody to come to, so they try to, not tell the truth about things. We were the only people that looked out for them, but now we just delineate and then, worried about our needs and interests first and foremost. But let's get into it. Fair use.
But they speak in different languages, so they have to show them what has to be done to work with them. They didn't know what a mop or broom anything were when they first came.
They didn't know what a mop or broom was. A damn shame. And these people, like to flex on FBAs. They just work hard, but they not saying that they're able to, come over here and so-called quote unquote work hard is because our foundational black American ancestors paved the way. They ain't even got a damn, soap and, mop and broom over there, in Haiti. They should be, taking, all of that, since they work so hard while they over here on American soil Why not apply that same mindset and, you know, logic over there to Haiti, you know, and get that popping and shaking instead of, you know, crying about, you know, the TPS status being removed. But let's continue.
You know, when I would say get a mop, they didn't know what I was talking about. I had to show them. This is a mop. This is a broom. This is a vacuum cleaner.
They didn't even know what a vacuum cleaner was, a mop and a broom. These people got a hell of a nerve. They do a lot of projecting because they live in filth and squalor in their homeland place of origin. And they get here and try to flex on FBAs. You can't flex on FBAs because we're the architects. You know, you came over here from the blood, sweat, and tears of our FBA ancestors. But let's continue.
Missing people help everybody Asian. You not can ride, missing people ride from we. Mr. One for ride, and Mr. One for help Asian people. Everybody in there say this hotel lack Asian people. We tell Asian people, hello, how you doing? Okay, I'm fine. But this is from the Hana Estate. This is from the talking English.
Yeah, family, but I just wanted to show y'all that they didn't know what a broom, mop was, a vacuum cleaner. You know, these people got a hell of a nerve trying to flex on FBAs. You can't flex on the architects. That if it, you know, we didn't pave the way, you know, your narrow asses wouldn't be over here to begin with, you know. Now I'm gonna get into the meat and potatoes of the broadcast, family. We're gonna pull up Wack100 standing on that FBA lineage business. You know what I mean? Now, oftentimes, you know, don't agree with Wack100 because he does a lot of trolling of black people and just a lot of performative antics that I don't like. But you know, on this you know, podcast he was on, you know, debating Jabari, somebody that be over there at Sinetta TV, which I don't rock with because Sinetta TV, you know, takes a lot of shots at our FBA lineage. I addressed them, you know, here on my channel, FBA Revolt, in the past. But yeah, we're going to get into a family and make it do what it do. Because I do rock with, you know, Wack standing on FBA lineage business. Wack told him, I ain't no African. You know, I'm American. Pull it up. Yeah, that Jabari and Sinetta TV, if you ask me, ain't nothing more than tethers. But let's get into a family and make it do what it do. Fair use.
Understood. You have a visionary. This is, I feel like a lot of men want to lead women and y'all want us to submit, but what the hell are we submitting?
And if you're new to the channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe.
I don't want that. Great question. I don't want that. Great question. Who says something about submission? A woman should submit to shit.
Why should a woman submit? We're going to go ahead with Jabbar.
It's
interesting you asked me that. I don't believe a woman should submit.
She should submit.
I am
good. Get somebody that thinks she should.
And family, I'm going to have to jump it around to different parts because the timestamp starts at 32 when they start, you know, when Wack100 starts debating with this Caribbean tether Jabari. You know what I mean? He's saying that, you know, he's African American. You know, he could be African American, you know, if he wants, but, you know, our brother Wack100, you know, stood on lineage business, but he really didn't know how to articulate it because if he did, he would, you know, have known delineation. We had a unique ethnogenesis as foundational Black Americans, and that Jabari, you know, technically is African American. We ain't, you know, he don't come from the lineage of people that built America, went through Jim Crow, redlining, you name it, suffered, you know, and built, you know, this infrastructure over here on American soil.
Wait.
Mission should be on both sides.
Some real quick things. First of all, a joke. When this brother handed his wife some diapers, I was like, oh, what we about to hear? Why he had her diapers?
On the baby.
Perfect reason to hand her diapers. But let me say, the other thing I'm going to clean up really quickly. We think that America...
Yeah, one of the family says, Ja Goofy is hella disrespectful to our lineage. I know all of them tether clowns over there at Sinetta TV try to take shots at our FBA lineage. They can't. They just mad because we've delineated and delineation whipping on that ass. They can't find themselves amongst us no more.
America creates wedding contracts, marriage contracts. That's the government. Those contracts were for...
A lot of people were becoming the beneficiaries of things going over here on America when they ain't suffer blood, sweat, and tears and, you know, build the nation, and suffer through Jim Crow, redline, and slavery, you name it, So they got to, try to put themselves, write a narrative where it put themselves in our story, without suffering the blood, sweat, and tears that went into our story, So damn these tethers, they got a hell of a nerve.
First made in Africa. We're the ones that developed. Wait, listen.
Here we go. You hear, Wack standing on that FBA business. I'm not African, but Wack don't know how to articulate it like we on the Black FBA grassroots do. You know what I mean? Because he's saying that he ain't African. Jabari could be, African, and technically he is, African American. This is why we put the foundational part on there, because foundational Black American is more specific and, a tighter terminology to, represent the people that, went through Jim Crow, redline, and slavery and built this infrastructure over here,
Not African either.
Listen. I think if I took your DNA, it would say something.
Technically, he is an African American. He comes from the Caribbean, but he's a tether, if you ask me. And he tried to, everything, throw it back to Africa. And we see that, a lot of these scam African goofballs, try to, everything got to tie back to Africa because they trying to sell back to Africa tour packages. You know what I mean? They ain't trying to have that fun, dry up, selling them African tours. But that delineation, is whooping on that ass, because many foundational Black Americans ain't looking back that, over there to Africa no more. We're looking to the soil and picking up the soil and identifying people that came to this land. We look all back through history. We don't see one African in our bloodline, but we do see foundational Black Americans on the other hand.
You're American.
And simply because you sit at the table with no plate, that does not make you a diner.
Where were you born?
And I know.
Where were you born?
And where was I born?
Where?
Wait, you asked me two questions at the same time?
Where were you born?
I was born in the United States.
Okay, now let me ask you something.
He's an anchor baby, you know what I mean? His parents come from the Caribbean. I forget what island they come over there, but Wack standing on lineage business, but at the same time, Wack don't got the right argument because he's making an argument that Jabari ain't African American. And, that tether Jabari is African American. We foundational Black Americans, we got a separate, unique lineage, and we had an ethnogenesis on American soil. We became a whole entirely new ethnic group,
If I told you tomorrow I got a first class ticket and we leaving going to Congo, you can't go. You know why you can't go?
Why can't I go?
Because for one, your visa ain't clear, and two, it takes 10 days after you put that shot that gotta go in any American to go to Africa.
First of all,
but Wack100 is making a lot of good points though. With that being said, he, don't got some of the right arguments, but at the same time, two things can exist and ultimately be true, because Wack100 does got a good argument though, because a lot of foundational Black Americans, go to Africa, under this false premise, thinking that's going to be some fruitopia and there ain't going to be no racism, white supremacy, but you get exploited because they know that you're not their people, just the same way we know when these African tethers, Caribbean tethers come over here that they not like us, you know what I mean? And this Jabari, technically he is an African American. It's we foundational Black Americans that aren't, Wack100, got some of the right arguments, but at the same time he don't, because Wack100 ain't no African American. Wack100 of the soil, which makes him a foundational Black American. It's this Jabari that's, not of the soil, and technically Jabari is an African American.
First of all, hold on. Wait. I'm reclaiming my time.
And that dude with the dashiki, he got some, whatever kind of head covering he got some good points, but in the same way, he's a goofball if you ask me, but he's saying he ain't African, but he said some things in here I didn't like either, but Jabari and that whole cybernetic camp, you know what I mean? They ain't nothing but, for the most part, tethers who try to take cheap shots at our FBA lineage. And I called them out several times. They just mad, frustrated, and disgruntled that FBA, delineating is whooping on that ass, They can't sell those back to Africa tours in the way in which they used to do.
Reclaiming my time. First of all, this is a brother. This is a brother.
Shout out to my sister FBA Voices.
And it's a chief in Ghana. The yellow fever shot he's describing is lifetime.
Let them go back and
I
forth.
took it 10 years ago.
Bullshit.
So I do not have to wait 10 days.
You do.
Maybe
He probably selling back to Africa tours, so he don't benefit from foundational Black Americans delineating, so he gonna run an interference on the part of being a scam African and the African continent, you know what I mean? But them people, don't accept our people, and like his Wack100's wife's about to say, when she went over there, they delineated from her and told her that she was American, and that we are. Them people know that we ain't, they're people in the same way, we know that when they come over here, they not like us. They not our people. It is what it is. It's different lineages.
you do.
You know why?
Maybe you do.
It expires every 10.
No, it does not.
Want to bet?
God, listen, check the CDC.
Do you want to bet?
And tell this brother he's wrong.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Yes, pull it up.
Card.
Pull it up.
Want me to pull a yellow card up?
It's amazing to me because I never seen Wack. I see Wack like trolling and being in confrontations with a lot of Black folks. That's why I don't really take Wack seriously. But in this case, he surprised me. He's standing on that FBA lineage business. So big shout out and salute to Wack100 on this one.
Yellow card as well. What does that mean?
Wait, you saying it don't expire in 10 years?
You have to go to the CDC,
every 10
brother.
years.
Wait.
Every 10 years.
Every 10
but
years.
my point is this.
Brother, wait.
An African ain't gotta take a shot.
Listen.
They sister.
Yeah, it's different. But this Jabari running interference because he's under that, false mindset ideology of scam Africanism, you know what I mean? And he going to run interference because he wants to sell, back to Africa tours, so he don't want that bag drying up on him.
And everything about him is totally different from
First
ours.
of all,
you not an African,
first of all,
and they don't expect they don't accept you as an African.
First of all, I think you think you're talking about.
Another aspect of this thing, we hear, some Africans that have African tethers that come over here that have anchor babies. The anchor babies were raised American, so they gravitate more to our culture as foundational Black Americans. Then when they go back home to Africa, they not accepted. They told that they American, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just they don't accept us over there as foundational Black Americans. They clearly delineate, and it ain't nothing wrong with us delineating and representing our FBA lineage. They've been delineating for years, It's now that we delineating, that they got a hissy fit and having a problem with it because they lost their FBA cover. You know what I mean? They easily, can get, infiltrated now by the white supremacists, and these people don't know how to stand up to no racism, white supremacy. We FBA is the only people that know how to address and, meet systematic racism, white supremacy with resistance.
That plane,
first of all,
tell them I'm African,
first of all,
they gonna tell you
first of all, hello. First of all, now you can't call me Jabari anymore. You have to call me Nana Kwame Brenya, which is my name.
That's just a gang name.
Second of all, every 10 years you have to get a new card. He's confused.
Yeah, Wack100 got a valid point. If you of African and that's your lineage and you from there, and you're a continental African, you ain't got to take all that because it's your homeland. You know what I mean? But when you ain't from there, when you're a foundational Black American going there, they look at you as not being of them the same way we know that they not of us. They not like us. You know what I mean? Because they clearly delineate from our people. You know what I mean? It's a difference there, and that just is what it is. You know what I mean? Even Brother Tariq Nasheed be saying when he goes over there, they know that he's not them. They try to run scams and finesses left and right, and he goes there as a tour, like a guest, you know what I mean? But he knows that ain't his home, He just goes there as a guest. He don't expect much, because he knows that that's not our people, in the same way they know it, you know what I mean? So I don't know what Jabari's whole argument is, and his, he's a scam African. No, I do know what it is, so let me not say that because he's just trying to run interference on that scam African tip.
In getting a card with the need to get a shot.
No
confusion.
No, not.
First of all, wait a minute.
This is a fact.
Wait a minute, brother. I took 4,000 people to Africa. You don't know about this as well as I.
Listen to me.
I told you, I hit the nail right on the head. He took 4,000 people to Africa. What you think he was doing over there in Africa? Selling them back to Africa tours. This is why he's benefiting, off of, pushing this scam African tip on us. You know what I mean? Because what the scam Africans want us to do is be some confused, lost Africans. But when we say, nah, we reject that, all of our lineage comes from American soil. They don't like this because, it stops that gravy train. They was used to benefiting off of FBA society and getting us to look over there instead of looking over here. You know what I mean? And when we look over there, we ain't got no reparations claim. They know the power that be that Africans what know, but on the other hand, they know that foundational Black Americans is owed a debt, because we built this damn joint and we're never compensated.
So wait, wait. Africans get yellow fever too. Yes, I'm an African.
No, you're American.
If a kitten is born,
he is an African. You know what I mean? But like I said, Wack got some of the right argument, but he don't got enough, lineage-based tools to, properly address this tether, Jabari. You know what I mean? Because Jabari is an African American. It's we foundational Black Americans that got a separate, unique lineage and a unique justice claim, tied to this soil over here in America.
born in the oven, does that make it a biscuit?
You're American.
I'm an African American. I'm an African American.
You're American first.
I'm an African
You're
American.
American of African descent.
That is your understanding.
Africans don't accept you.
You're wrong.
Africans don't fuck with you.
Shout out to my brother Earl.
For many years.
We're going to settle for one moment. She has something to interject. She has an interjection. We're going to
That was an interruption, brother. That was an interruption.
We're letting her interject. We have a
That was an interruption.
I think Wack's wife now is about to tell her story of going there, how they didn't accept her. They knew she wasn't, of the soil. The same way we know these foreign fleeing tethers ain't like us. When they come over here to America, they could try to blend in, but we recognize that hairline, right off the bat.
A real story.
Yeah,
My very first time going to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all happy, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going back to Africa. I'm going back to the motherland. I'm an African American. So I get there. I go to Ghana. I get there. And they look at me and they say, because I didn't have my visa upon arrival, so I end up having to pay for that.
Right.
So they looked at me and they said, what is your family name? So my friend told me to lie and say that her father was my father, so they'd give me the visa upon arrival because I didn't have it when I got there. So I told them I couldn't even say the damn name right at first, right? So anyhow, so she told me to say the Ashite or something. Okay. So
see, they knew that sister was foundational, you know what I mean? And if you go over there, I ain't saying don't go to the continent, but view it as, if you want to go over there, view it as you a guest. That's not your homeland. Your homeland, if you foundational Black American, is over here on U.S. soil.
I go down there, and so they told me, I said, well, I'm African American. They said, you are.
All of the fly things we done over here on American soil, challenging the white supremacists, regarding, injustice, oppression like slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, all of that resistance, we gave, hell to the racist white supremacists. I ain't willing to chalk that all up in the air and, erase and, diminish that, in favor of saying I'm African, I'm a foundational Black American all day, every day. What we done is, bar none and it's unmatched. Folks don't carry that resistance spirit in their blood the same way in which we do.
You are not. You are not African American. There is no such thing as an African American. You are an American woman trying to find your roots.
See, they delineated. They know they know that they not like us, and they know that we ain't them, It's different lineages. They could pick up on this.
And I swear to God, and they laughed at me so hard.
That was it right there. That was the point. Listen, I want to be very clear. Hold on.
What Pan-Africanism does is it seeks to, dilute and make everyone's lineage one and the same, you know what I mean? And put us under this broad umbrella of just being generic Africans. And that way that erases our unique ethnic group, all of the accomplishments and, building up America and all of the, music genres and everything we, made as foundational Black Americans over here on American soil, soul food, you name it. That just gets chalked up to, Africa. We got to, like it's a big homie type of dynamic where we got to, pay, homage and respect to the big homie. Everything we do just gets chalked up to the big homie. And damn that, we're a standalone lineage as foundational Black Americans. And this is another aspect I want to add in there. You know, when we was going through slavery and, you know, bondage and, you know, fighting resistance, Africa didn't come to save us. In fact, you know, Africa was responsible for selling some of our people into slavery and bondage. So yeah, I don't want nothing to do with them. You know, they got to hold their own, and we FBAs is delineating, and that's the new wave. But let's continue.
Hold on. Wait.
As promised, it's your
You
time.
allowed an interruption.
Hold on.
They
to
laughed
cut
at
my
me.
flow.
You ain't African. We're going to allow you to finish your time.
You allowed an interruption to cut my flow.
You got this bullshit.
So let's be really clear.
Go ahead. I want to be very clear, right? And for everybody watching this, this is going kind of like hurt, but she just said something I want everybody to reflect on. I want to reflect on this. Something happened, right? And the things that happened, you could take a Cuban person, put him next to me, he have dark skin. They're going to consider him black, right? You're going to say he black. Our skin don't depend on what we
Fucking. That's fucked on Rikers Island?
Hold on. What?
Nigga, you got fucked on Rikers or something? Why,
Okay, we're not going to conversation. Is there water in that?
Let me wind it back a little bit.
Forth by the Trump administration.
But I'm trying to, you know, get to, I'm at the time stamp 53 right now. I'm trying to get to, you know, some important things was said at 52. So we just going to let it rock from here. But I don't want to, you know, it's a bunch of, you know, tether babble, you know, that I don't really need to break down in this. So I'm just trying to get to the most important parts. But let's continue.
Question that you asked.
I just
has he revoked our citizenship?
Did you notice he can't answer the question?
To read it.
Because the reality is he's speaking about something he does not know.
Was it a change?
You are the most loud person.
Was it a change?
And you don't know anything.
Was it a change?
The Supreme Court overruled him.
So shut your dumb ass up.
The Supreme Court overruled him.
Why talk about something?
You said.
Hold on, let me bring it back. I think I'm missing it.
About you talking about shit.
Until we can't trust like Joe Biden, weak ass?
Yeah,
Listen, I'm in New
I gotta go back more, family.
How do you?
I just submitted the paper.
Here we go. I wanted to get back to when they talking about, you know, immigration, this, that, and the other, Trump. You know, I think I got it now.
How old are you?
I'm 54.
You 54 and you ain't got citizenship on the place you say you from.
What does that mean?
Yeah, you know, Wack100 makes a valid point. You know, if they say that, you know, these scam Africans want to be African so much, why your narrow tether ass ain't over there on African soil, you know, building that up. You talking all of this Pan-African stuff while being over here on America, the land that FBA's built.
You're talking about municipalities.
You American, nigga. You listen, you cannot be an African citizen. You American. Are you not American?
Wack got some of the right arguments, but some of it, you know, he's confused about. He don't, you know how to, you know, articulate this lineage business, you know.
American does not have to be the only thing you are.
If I don't get on, it's all good.
So it doesn't have to be the only thing you are. I'm American too, but I'm not just American.
I'm American.
Well, then that's fine for you.
I'm black American.
Did I tell you you have to move to
Black
Ghana?
American.
So why is
No, that's right. Big shout out and salute to Wack. This is the first time I've ever heard, you know, Wack talk like this. I'm black American, you know, because Wack know that he of the soil. You know, Wack ain't willing to, you know, dilute his lineage, you know, from fighting slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, and just chalk that up to, you know, some a nonsense ideology where Africa's the big homie. You know, Wack ain't, you know, going to diminish that and dilute that. You know, Wack standing on that real FBA type of timing.
My connection to the continent.
1 moment, we're acknowledging the red flag.
Huh?
We're not
I said, did I tell you you have to move to Ghana?
Gentlemen, Wack and Jabari to wait 1 moment.
I didn't say that.
What you said?
I did not say that.
We're African.
I did not say we're not American.
You said we're African. I'm not a fucking African.
So we have
I'm
the question.
African. I'm telling you.
I did not say I'm not American.
I'm not an African.
Okay, fine. That's for you.
I'm American.
You can have whatever opinion you want.
Barria, Caribbean Tether, I'm gonna keep reiterating that, and he trying to sell back the Africa tours. You know, he want to push that nonsense on the FBAs. You know what I mean? But delineation is whooping on that ass. He ain't, you know, that cash flow drying up.
No matter how uninformed it is, you can have that opinion. It's uninformed.
You sit up there in your church and you beg for
I
American
don't go to a church. I don't go to a church.
You beg for
I'm not
American
part of a
offering,
church.
right?
I'm not part of a church.
Do you take offering?
I'm not part of a church.
Where it come from?
Correct
Americans?
what you're saying, and then I'll answer.
Do you take offering?
That's the question. What is that
I
question?
don't take offering, nigga. I don't take offering from nobody. Right? I do business. Do you take offering?
I do. I have many businesses.
Do you take offering?
I have many businesses.
One of the main businesses that he dealing in is selling back the Africa tours, but the FBA delineation movement. The delineation movement we got going on now is whooping on that ass. He ain't selling them back to Africa packages in the way in which he once did.
Thank offering.
Let's be really clear.
We have a question for the red flag. We have a red flag acknowledging.
I run
A nonprofit ain't no nonprofit.
Hold on, and I'm going to say to you, I have many.
Coming, family, I want to get to this Trump when they start talking about Trump. You know, this lets you know that somebody ain't of the soil when they try to, you know, well, we gonna be deported next. Y'all gonna be, they projecting their mindset of a foreign fleeing tether and trying to get us foundational Black Americans to co-sign or endorse it. Damn that, we can't be deported.
You get paid from the nonprofit. You fucking with an educated street. You a motherfucking lie. Are you down as a position in that nonprofit?
Of course.
And you did
I take no salary. I take no salary.
We have a red flag to acknowledge.
This is public.
See, I'm probably the first.
Wack100 mad animated though. He funny though, if you ask me, but let's continue.
Do some research. Do some research. Y'all Negroes are a dime a dozen. I met all of y'all. You a dime a dozen.
One moment.
You a dime a dozen.
One moment.
Please.
One moment. You ain't met me. We have a red flag to acknowledge. Your politics ain't as strong.
Right.
We have a red flag to acknowledge.
Talk to the loud Negro.
We're going to ask him a question.
Over there.
Listen, in this situation, I'm sorry to say, I'm pro-Trump, but the white boy got away.
See, now watch the tether come out of him when he said he pro-Trump. And mind you, I ain't for either party, you know, right wing or the left wing. I'm for whoever's producing lineage-based justice in the form of cash reparations and an FBA hate crimes bill. I'll vote for either one of them, you know, tomorrow if they willing to produce that. But if ain't nobody producing that, there ain't nothing to talk about. I'm sitting on the couch. But let's continue.
You pro-Trump?
Yeah, I'm pro-Trump like a
You could just leave. You should just leave.
What the fuck you mean? Trump is just man. I'm pro-Trump.
Okay, fine.
I love Trump. Nigga,
We'll talk about you.
Tether don't love Trump because I don't love Trump either, but I like some of his dealings, you know, with getting out all of the mass immigration to the U.S., deporting these foreign fleeing tethers, you know, but tethers don't like, you know, the aspect of Trump's deportation because it's removing their family, they fellow tethers out of the mix, you know, but I love it.
But you like Joe Biden, weak ass?
Listen, I'm a New Yorker. I've known Trump for a long time.
You don't know Trump.
And I actually have met him on many occasions.
That was the red flag.
I'm going to tell you.
Let's announce the red
he's a
flag.
racist.
Do you accept
He just tried.
He said Trump a racist, but the right wing and the left wing racist. Biden was racist, you know what I mean? But what they want to do is, get you to take your eyes off of systematic racism coming from the DNC and get you to only focus on, you know, racism coming from the right. And damn that, you know, they both, you know, wings off the same bird. This is why I say to hell with them both. I'm for, you know, lineage-based tangibles. Who's ever producing that is who I'm rocking with. You know what I mean? But what I do like about, you know, Trump's, you know, how he moves and shakes is, you know, getting all of these damn foreign fleeing tethers up out of the mix.
He just tried to take away your citizenship.
That's tether talk right there, family. He's trying to take away your citizenship. Wack100 is a foundational Black American who got, you know, blood equity in this soil over here in America. They can't take not a damn thing away from Wack100. But on the other hand, you know, Jabari, you know, he's shaking in the boots. You know, he's a little bit uncomfortable and hot and bothered because he knows his family could be deported in all actuality. He knows that he ain't nothing more than a damn fleeing tether.
Tried to take
Do you accept off?
That's another red flag.
He ain't never tried to take my citizenship.
Really?
I'm from here. Do you
accept? Speak that FBA. Speak that FBA truth to power. Wack from here. You know what I mean? He ain't gonna let his lineage be diluted.
I think you're confused. Did you see what happened in the Supreme Court? Did you see what happened in the Supreme Court today? Did you see what happened?
Tethers want to project that foreign fleeing failure of a mindset on the real FBA brothers and sisters, but Wack100 stood his ground and standing on FBA business. He didn't let him get that thing off, you know?
At the Supreme Court today. Did you see what happened at the Supreme Court today? Did you see?
Just wanted to show you how, you know, these tethers work, you know, try to project a failure, foreign fleeing mindset on the real FBA brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? Because he tried to tether Babel at the end, you know, you'll be deported next, you know, no the hell we won't. You know, Wack100 said, I'm American, I can't be deported, you know. So I just wanted to show y'all that, family, because I don't agree with Wack100 a lot, you know, but, you know, somebody said something like, I think Brother Tariq said this on one, it's an old saying, one of his broadcasts, that a broke clock works right like twice a day or something to that effect, but Wack100 on this one, I gotta, give him kudos. He spoke a lot of truth to power. And I never liked it, the damn, tethers, like Cynetic TV and this Jabari No Way, because they took a lot of cheap shots at our FBA lineage, mad that delineation movement is whooping on that ass. But let's continue. Shout out to my brother Mark Curry. Now we're gonna get into the main, the main dish, which is keeping that FBA freight train on Godflee's narrow tether ass. Let me pull it up. Bear with me, family. And if you're new to the channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe. Here we go. Let me see if I got the timestamp.
Great.
What did that say? 54?
Great little video.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm gonna let it play, family.
Of Cape Verdeans in the 70s. Look at these black people. Look at these black people. Look at these black people. It's black folks. It's like, black.
It looked like
you wouldn't even know where you were.
Yeah, you thought
you could be in Jamaica. You could be in Mississippi. Come on.
See what Godflee's tether ass tries to do, family. You got to watch this. He's a sneaky tether. He got those beady tether eyes too. He tried to dilute lineages. The same, they Cape Verdeans, the same as Mississippi, this, that, and the other. He wants to dilute our lineage as foundational Black Americans and just get us to fall under the guise of being some generic Africans. And damn that, we standing on this FBA lineage business. We got a separate, unique lineage that has nothing to do with, the continent of Africa. But let's continue.
Philadelphia.
You could be in Philly. That motherfucker look like James Ingram on the right. What are we talking about?
You look like the Whispers.
Look at that. Cape Verde. Cape Verde. What are we looking at? We're looking at black people.
He's attempting to dilute the lineage. That's what he's saying, but ain't really, letting it be known. But he's trying to tiptoe around it. But he wants to dilute our lineage and not get us to be, tied to, over here in America. He wants to say that Africans from the continent are the same as Africans in Mississippi. Damn that. We got a unique lineage. We're a different people. And, the makeup of a foundational Black American, ain't the same as, one of them foreign fleeing tethers from Africa. They don't got our resistance disposition, to fighting injustice. They flee when the going gets tough.
Mm-hmm. They can show all that light-skinned bullshit all they want. Listen, it's a mixture of all. Look at that. Oh,
look at the hair.
Mark, yeah. It's that picture right there. But I was watching the video. No, in the center.
In the middle.
I was watching the video of that where they were dancing.
Oh,
they were dancing like that. It's really cool. But that's black folks. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Look at They're everywhere.
The global majority.
What in black? Oh, there's Tito Jackson. That's Tito. That's
trying to say that Africans over there on the continent are like Tito Jackson as a way to dilute, and run us up under the guise of being some generic Africans. And we ain't having that. He tried to do a lot of diluting lineages, family. You got to watch that. You know what I mean? He tried to incorporate us as, being under some African umbrella.
Fucking Tito before he got to the Jackson.
One of the Silvers.
That's Tito.
Like that.
That's Tito. Woo! What are we talking?
I don't like Godflee's eyes. I'm starting to notice his eyes. They're getting real beadier and beadier nowadays. You know what I mean? But let's continue.
Talking about
that's
Africa.
That's Anderson .Paak.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Africa all over. Look up.
The eyes, family, is windows to the soul. You know what I mean? You look in a person's eyes, you can see their whole disposition, if they're a good person or a negative person,
Congos and a black man. I mean, you can't get more African than that.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Come on. This is Capo Verde. Black people everywhere. What have we done to make you mad? Europeans, fuck you. Man.
It's coming up the part, one of the callers, I'm going to just let it rock and play. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to keep jumping from timestamps, but I will, but I don't want to do it right now. So I'm going to just let it, rock. But caller calls in and, says about Brother Dave and Tyreek, they need to do a debate with him and, watch his, the answer that, what his rebuttal is. And he also said that, somebody said something earlier about FBAs in the chat. I didn't play that part, but he said foundational black assholes or something. You know, Godfrey takes a lot of cheap shots at our FBA lineage. You know, that's why we're gonna keep this FBA freight train right on course with his narrow tether musty ass. But let's continue.
God damn, we're so dope everywhere we go. But man, all we got to do.
Yeah, O'Reilly, he trying to turn us into Africans. That way he gets to, you know, claim our cultural, you know, capital for himself.
Black folks, man, got to stick together, man. I don't give a fuck what country you from. You look like me.
Now we all got to stick together. When they were calling us lazy Akadas, you know, we need to pull ourselves up. We don't deserve no reparations, you know, stop begging, you know, the good old white man. That's what they told us, you know, they just work hard. You know what I mean? But yeah, this delineation, you know, was whooping on that ass. They lost their FBA cover. Now we all need to come together and sing Kumbaya songs. Damn that.
I look like you. We all look the same. What are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing?
That's a tether talking point. We always look the same, you know?
What is this shit, man? Playing drums, eating rice with meat on it. It's the same shit. Plantain. God damn. I think
he's still trying to dilute lineages, family. That's what he's doing. And his eyes, you know, are beadier and beadier. Like I keep saying, the eyes is the windows to the soul. Godfrey ain't a good person. He's a damn tether. And I don't like the tone he took with that FBA sister. You know what I mean? Because he wouldn't have took that same tone with a real FBA brother. His ass would have got checked quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Cabo Verde, they probably got a plantain too. Of course, they probably got a. It's probably called banana nanano, some shit. Banana nanano.
Yeah, Godfrey and that 154 podcast just need to keep foundational Black Americans out of the equation altogether and just focus what's going over there on the continent of Africa. I'm sure they could use, you know, people talking for them, you know, but we don't need no foreign fleeing tether plan, you know, that they're going to speak up for anything regarding FBA society.
Nanu. I bet you it's some kind of fried plantain shit.
People keep talking about Dave Anderson.
Who's Dave Anderson?
I don't know who it is.
Here we go, family. Listen to this. He know who brother Dave Anderson is.
That's Professor Dave?
I guess they said I would like to see him debate Dave Anderson or Tariq Nasheed.
Who, me?
I guess they.
Who, me? You know, like he's tether stunned right now and shocked. You know, but let's continue.
Just typed it out. They didn't say.
Ah, fuck you, Dante. Explain to Godfrey who former New York great Miss Jones is. She's a fan of.
They just tried to, you know, switch the subject. You know what I mean?
Godfrey, she wants to.
He knows his ass is out of bounds, you know, and he knows that his ass is being checked quick, fast, and in a hurry by real FBA brothers and sisters.
Come on to you.
Oh,
who's that?
Miss Jones. She was the
Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones.
Sidekick of
Who?
God, who was
Is
it?
she Wack?
No.
It's coming up, family. You know, the timestamp I want. I'm gonna just let it rock.
Nah, she cool. Miss Jones back in the days.
You don't even know.
I'm trying to think of what radio show it was on though.
I don't.
Could it? No, it was
Mrs. Jones.
It was starring Buck Wild, Godfrey.
Okay.
It was starring Buck Wild, but I think she's got her own thing.
Okay.
You got someone on the call.
All right. Who's the next caller?
James.
What up?
This is the Haitian tether calling up, dude saying he's James. You know, he got a hostile disposition to our FBA lineage. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for foundational Black Americans, his narrow tether Haitian ass wouldn't even be over here on American soil.
Hey, what's going on?
You're on the air.
Hey, listen. I just want to say that I'm proud of Godfrey for going off last show.
That's a tether disposition. You know, Godfrey's tether ass went off on an FBA sister, you know, and said something to the effect of inviting her to his, you know, private area, you know, and if it was a real FBA brother, you know, he wouldn't have took that disposition. You know, he's a cowardly tether, you know, who bucked up on a sister, you know. So, yeah, we keeping this FBA train on Godfrey's narrow tether ass, you know. We ain't letting him get off of the hot seat.
You've been kind of straddling in this whole FBA thing.
Listen, and this is like we're gonna have a normal conversation. What have I been straddling? Because I've been called names. They even called me a tether. They said, "Hey, Godfrey, don't speak up for us." This whole shit. And so
the problem is we don't want Godfrey speaking up. Godfrey's trying to say the problem is you don't speak up for us. That ain't the problem. He knows what the problem is. He's just trying to play dumb. It's the problem is that real FBA brothers and sisters don't want him, saying anything about the lineage. We think it'd be best if he just focus on, what's going on over there on the continent of Africa. They got 1,000,001 problems that need addressing. Address that and stop talking about FBA society.
What are you saying? What do you say?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I feel like.
Sister FBA Voices said Godfrey needs to meet his match. I think Godfrey meeting his match though, sister, because this FBA train, I see brothers and sisters left and right, banging on verbal clips his way, so he's feeling the effects of this. His ass knows he on the hot seat right now, and this FBA train, is headed, straight his way.
We have to not defend these people. They're in the comment section bitching at everything. I feel like not all Black Americans, but a lot of them have become the offended by everything, ashamed of nothing crowd. You know what I mean?
Right. Are you FBA or?
We just ain't letting foreign fleeing tethers come over here to American soil and try to flex on us that they just work hard, and this, that, and the other, without addressing that if it wasn't for our FBA ancestors, your narrow tether ass wouldn't even be over here on U.S. soil.
What are you?
See, there we go. No, I'm not FBA.
I just asked. I mean, if I can't ask you.
No, I say that because that's the typical response to the questions that they ask.
No, but
and this tether's mad and upset, frustrated, and disgruntled that we FBA brothers and sisters ask where you from. We got the right to question where you from. You come around with a janky, weird type of disposition. We got the right to question that. You know what I mean? So we know who we dealing with in all actuality. Because if you know with a person, where they come from, it could let you know their disposition. So he's mad at that aspect. That they got to say that where they from, such as Haiti, Jamaica, this, that, and the other. And delineation exposed all that. They can't come under the guise of, just being a Black American anymore. They got to say where they from, when they come with a janky, weird type of disposition.
No, if you have an opinion,
straddle,
we gotta know when you say that. If I can't ask you what it is, So here's what I think. Black people will never be able to get where they need to be until we remove those lines of division. But you still can't deny
unique lineage ain't division. You know what I mean? Representing your unique lineage, that's not division. In fact, it's needed because things get written off and other people get to take credit for your contributions and achievements, that way. So I don't agree with what he's saying there. We needed to remove things as if lineage is divisive.
The fact that there are Africans, West Indians, Caribbeans, and Afro Latinos who come in with this need to be as close to whiteness as possible.
Now, I do agree with him on that. I don't agree with all this dude's talking points, and I think he might have been like a DNC shill, you know what I mean? But I agree with that, A lot of foreign fleeing tethers come here to American soil and want to be professional white ass kissers, and say like I'm not like them, foundational Black Americans. I'm a good melanated person. You know what I mean? Trying to be a lapdog to systematic racism, white supremacy.
So, which is, you can't deny that. Even when it comes to English actors, let me finish. Even when it comes to English actors, the people who are giving these parts out, they're giving the parts out to people. Even when you come to Obama, I don't think they would have ever had an African American Black president.
I remember you saying.
I know, and he keeps using, the term African American. I don't like that. That's one of the things I don't like. He's trying to talk about foundational Black Americans without using the term foundational Black Americans. And anyone still using that African American term, they look outdated, and they look a little bit weird now that we, already delineated that term. We purged that term. It's a dead brand, and them still trying to use it, shows to a certain degree that they could have ulterior motives. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree that, if it was a foundational Black American president that, running for office, they would have never got into office because the establishment, the white power structure knows that, you know, if they get a foundational Black American in office, you know, that comes from the lineage, he's going to have more affinity towards his people and make sure that his people get specific protections and lineage-based justice in the form of reparations. And that's what they don't want. So they figure they can, you know, go run up and grab a melanated tether, you know, to look with the Black aesthetic without producing, you know, the compensatory justice to the people who have been aggrieved, you know. But let's continue.
That. I remember you saying that last show, and I disagree with you on that.
Barack Obama's tether ass, you know, had more of an affinity to his fellow tethers, you know, and law enforcement, you know, FBAs were getting cut down in the streets, and you know, he gave more protections to the race soldiers, you know.
You're just wrong. Even when you talk about fucking Jon Stewart, The Daily Show, it's okay to have what you call it, Trevor Noah as the head of American, and there's American comics who could have done it.
Perfect.
So I'm not saying that you can't, but you can't say that this doesn't exist. That there are immigrant Black people or Black people who are immigrants who come here with this idea that.
I'm gonna keep this thing all the way 1,000. You know, a lot of them melanated tethers that come here, for the most part, they professional white ass kissers. They come here and get on cold with the white supremacists, you know, and take up an anti-FBA disposition more often than not, you know.
And say that FBA and Black Americans are a subculture because of the fact that white supremacy is set up to make Black people, Black Americans, descendants of slaves, as the untouchables. And you get.
I agree with that to a certain aspect. You know, the racist white supremacists, you know, they set it up to where, though, they use these melanated tethers, even if they are melanated, they use them as a buffer, you know, to ensure that we get the short end of the stick, because the name of the game is to make sure that FBAs stay a permanent underclass. And damn that, you know what I mean? This is why the trump card and the wild card we pulled is delineation and representing our FBA lineage, because they never in a million years, you know, expected us to do nothing like this. And this is why things are being, you know, so shaken up right now. They don't like us delineating and representing our FBA lineage, because it forces them to acknowledge a specific ethnic group with a unique justice claim on American soil.
Okay, so I don't understand.
So what are you? Are you American?
No,
I'm Haitian. I've been here since I was 4. But
okay.
I'll say this.
He's a damn Haitian tether. That's why he's, you know, opposed to our FBA lineage. You know what I mean? And we paved the damn way for his narrow fellow, him and his family, you know, Haitian tether asses to be over here on American soil.
What about Black Americans that say we don't want to live in the hood or near other Black people?
Black people do not say that.
Mindset.
FBAs don't say that. That's the mindset of foreign fleeing tethers. He's doing a lot of projecting. That's one of the tools in Tether's, tool bag, is to do a lot of projecting. Things they really do, they like to try to flip that around and make it like FBAs do it. You know, that's the disposition of a damn tether.
Black people do not say.
Tethers don't want to live around their fellow, you know, tethers.
I've been around some Black Americans.
First of all, I've had situations where Haitian women, where I was like, hook me up with your cousin. And this chick I was working with, she was
ignorant.
Like, I would never have you Black American.
And she's ignorant.
Well, there's ignorance in every group.
This is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You can't say that doesn't exist.
But let me say this, though. When I went to school, when I was in high school, back in the day, there was this thing called Haitian Fridays.
Okay.
Haitian Fridays down here in Miami would be.
I knew you were from Florida. They did it in Florida. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
This tether try to get a lie off real quick, family. Listen up to this lie. I want y'all to hear something.
When school let out, Black Americans, the kids would find any Haitian and jump on them. That was Haitian Friday.
That's a lie that them Haitian tethers keep trying to get off, that FBA down there in Florida were, you know, beating them up for just being Haitian. That ain't never been our type of disposition. We don't like people because of their actions, not because of what they are, their ethnic group. So that's a damn lie.
For no reason.
Well, that's a group of motherfuckers. That's not everybody. But that was wrong.
It's wrong, but you're also talking about
all of them damn, you know, African and, tribes that are banging each other, being cutthroat to each other, banging each other upside the head with coconuts, giraffe legs, this, that, and the other. And this Haitian tether want to sit up here and try to tell a lie on FBAs. Damn that.
Bro, this is a white supremacist society set up to turn black people against black people.
That's right.
So, but if there's no way you could tell.
It is a white supremacist society, but, folks give white supremacy a little bit too much credit, and saying that it's just, white society, white supremacist society turning the tether class against, us foundational black Americans. No, that's their disposition as well. They come over here and try to get little perks, set aside and tangibles by throwing us under the bus because they know that they can be elevated to a buffer class. So yeah, we can't, we always going to expose racism, white supremacy, but we ain't letting the tethers get off the hook. We multitasking, we holding both accountable.
Tell me that you're Haitian and you haven't heard fucking your family members, Haitian family members, not talk about black Americans in a negative way.
Not my family members.
None.
Not my family members.
None.
Not my family members.
Okay, what about other Haitians?
They've said it. Caribbeans and Africans have said it.
No.
Them Haitian tethers, Jamaican tethers, and African tethers in the house, Dominican tethers, they tell, they kids to stay away from, them lazy black Americans. They thugs, criminals, and thieves. They got all these derogatory terms, that they, teach their youth in the household about us, So this tether line,
No, I'm being honest. I'm being
okay, so you've honest. Never heard that. You've never heard other Haitians downgrade or talk about black folks in that way.
I've heard, but not recently. Not recently, but like back in the day.
We're just talking about in general,
but you cannot say that it doesn't exist. I'm not for.
Them beady eyes get me. You can see tether written all over Godflee's disposition when you look in his eyes. The eyes is the windows to the soul, and his eyes is letting me know that he ain't nothing more than a foreign fleeing tether. Seeking to dilute our lineage. You know what I mean? And Godflee gonna be held accountable. We ain't letting Godflee get off the hook.
For it either.
It exists.
So, but that's all we're saying.
What I'm saying is there's like Godflee said, there's ignorant people on both sides.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is, But now, okay, like the U.S. team right now.
Yeah.
There's people online that's mad at that Florian. I think his name is Florian guy. He's the best player on the U.S. team.
The Nigerian guy.
Because he's not. Yeah, the Nigerian guy, because he's not FBA. He's representing the USA. What's the problem?
Well, first of all,
he don't come from the lineage. If foundational black Americans got a problem with that, if African is representing a U.S. team, we're entitled to that. He don't come from the soil over here in America, for generations and generations. He don't suffer blood, sweat, and tears over here on American soil. He got nothing to do with the building of America. I don't give a damn if a foundational black American do feel a kind of way, If they do, they entitled to it. Why ain't he representing, some African team, the same way with these damn foreign fleeing tethers, trying to take all of the FBA roles on the big screen. If we feel a kind of way, we feel a kind of way. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be representing our civil rights icons and things like that anyway. They do that to try to, dilute the power, of that character betrayal, because they know if they bring a real FBA brother or sister to, a dynamic role like Dr. Martin Luther King, who was of the lineage, that's going to carry a certain power and frequency, and they try to, throw a tether in there to dilute it. They know the tethers don't come from that, rider class and share, a camaraderie with us.
Most FBAs aren't playing soccer. Nigerians are. I'm just saying, there are some black American players, but
we don't give a damn about soccer as foundational black Americans, Y'all can have that.
But not every black. Not every black American is rushing to play soccer.
No, it's not. Okay,
it's not. Nigerians will play soccer because that's what they play.
But you acting like you don't know Haitians that don't shit on black people the same way. You're acting like that was.
Certain points I disagree. I agree with this brother on. Certain points I don't agree with him on. You know what I mean? This brother that's talking now. But let's continue.
Not part of the culture to say when you go to America, don't mess with those black guys. They're gang members.
And them African and Caribbean tethers up there in New York, when brothers and sisters needed cabs, they was, driving right past, FBA brothers and sisters in favor of, picking up somebody from the dominant white society, That shows you where their mindset and affinity lies.
Don't want to go to school. They're ugly. They're nasty. Huh?
There was ignorant. I'll say this though. I remember. Listen, I'll be honest with you. When I was maybe 9, I went to like a private Catholic school. And, and everything was like civil. It was nice until my parents took me out of Catholic school and put me in public school. And then I was around like hoodish black American kids, and it was a difference. It was like, damn, who raised you niggas?
These tethers hold a lot of stereotypical white supremacist talking points, that come from white society, you know what I mean, towards our people. We can't get on code with people like this. That's why, delineation is important, and us to keep on standing on, our FBA lineage business, you know what I mean? Because these people, don't give a damn about our people. They got, the same mindset as the white supremacists.
Yeah, but that's
but you're talking about.
But listen. I went to school my high school was dope.
Shout out to Old Willie and the rest of the family, Black RU365, who was holding down the chat. And thanks to everybody for tapping in with me. Peace to the chat room.
But I was with a lot of smart black kids, and there were white kids that weren't shit. There was like everybody was a couple losers in every race. But there was
You're always gonna have. I agree with, a little bit of what Godflee's tether ass said on that particular part. You're always going to have people that don't do good in every ethnic group. You know what I mean? This is why I don't paint everybody with the broad paintbrush. You know what I mean? I don't even throw all whites, white folks in a basket of being white supremacists. I give them a chance to, see how they moving and shaking before I make my decision. I don't ultimately, throw everybody and paint everybody with the same broad paintbrush.
There was a lot of smart black kids who graduated top of their class.
I went to Brooklyn Tech, and there was smart kids. That wasn't a problem. But what I'm saying is,
just like every African and Caribbean ain't no tether. You know what I mean? They like to put out that false narrative that we just label everyone tethers. Tether is an action word. If you displaying tetherism, your narrow tether ass is going to get called out. Ain't no doubt about it.
Culturally, white supremacy puts African Americans, descendants of slaves, at the bottom of the totem pole. So, and if you're not going to
they do that and bring in all these buffers. He's speaking truth to power right here, though. I don't agree with everything everybody says, but certain parts I take what I need, what's beneficial to me. And what this dude is saying as far as white society, using buffer classes and putting, FBAs at the bottom of the totem pole. They do this by design because they know that we owe the unique claim over here on American soil for compensatory justice. And they know that we're the wild card. These people don't got a resistance bone in their body to save their body. We the only people that cause white supremacist society to get some act right. We hold the line in that regard. So that's why white supremacist society, try to, elevate everybody over top of, FBAs.
Acknowledge that, then you're just not telling the truth. Maybe you had an exceptional family and none of them had any of that at all.
And we got to work 10 times harder than a lot of these other, people, even if they are melanated. This is why, we got to get it out the mud as foundational Black Americans. This is why I'm in favor of, FBA supporting FBA businesses first and foremost, because that, will have a positive effect, on, us, getting our leg up, and keeping that FBA dollar in our community. I just wanted to add that in there.
But Trinidad and fucking Jamaica shit on each other. So,
it's wrong. It's wrong.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not. Dominicans shit on Haitians. But if we say that it is part of a white supremacist structure, then we have to acknowledge that and try to remove that away. Stop trying to go, it's not happening.
In regards to people saying that white supremacist society is, telling tethers, to be anti-FBA, I don't give them, all of that credit. The tether class, took up that disposition because it was always in them. You know what I mean? So, and to a certain degree, folks be trying to run interference and give, white supremacist society too much, play in that regard. I call the tether class and the white supremacists out equally. They both equally anti-FBA.
Because it is happening.
I'm not. I'm
You
not. I'm not
just
saying. I'm not
so
saying
when
it's
you
not
said
happening.
when you said I was straddling,
I said in my family. I said
no,
in my
no.
family.
Hey, I'm gonna ask you. What's your name again?
James.
James. What? When you said I was straddling the FBA thing, what did you mean? I didn't because the FBA thing.
I meant that. I meant that almost like it seems like they're in the chat, but you kind of like ignored a little bit until last week.
First of all, I don't have my glasses, so I can't see half the shit. So, but I didn't ignore. What do you mean ignore it?
Ignore it. That's just not true.
No, because first of all, the way these responses are moving, they're moving so fast. What did I ignore?
I don't think you guys realize, like, when we're doing a podcast, those thousands of people watching, there's so many comments.
It's in real time.
It's in real time. So if we see a comment, don't address it. We're not ignoring it. We probably just really didn't read it.
Yeah, because I'm like, what?
I feel you.
But James, what's something that I ignored? Did you have like a comment, like someone said this about FBA and you didn't say anything? Is there anything you have?
Okay, so like videos, like there'll be videos like right now, because of the last show, there's a ton of.
Got Haitian Tether on the line on the phone call with Godflee's tether ass, is mad and frustrated that we FBA brothers and sisters been banging out, videos left and right exposing, Godfree for being a cosplaying tether to FBA society that he is, you know what I mean? And we ain't gonna let up, this FBA freight train is gonna keep in momentum with Godfree's tether ass, we keeping on course in that regard.
The videos people were putting out on YouTube. Like that Flacco kid. He did a whole video about you.
Hey, James, quick thing. If we don't...
And Flacco, I think he talking about the one content creator. He a tether too.
Comics, we don't spend time on YouTube looking up videos that people make about us. Godfree's not sitting at home typing and Googling
made something
himself.
about who's Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco was a Nigerian kid on Adams 22 podcast.
Oh, he was talking shit about me?
He basically said because the way you kind of reacted, because you did go off a little bit, like you should be ashamed of yourself.
And I don't see why these, African and Caribbean, content creators, don't keep FBA lineage out of their mouth altogether, and just focus on what's going on over there in Africa and the Caribbean. I'm sure they could use the help, but we don't want these, folks speaking about, any element of FBA society, damn that, and if you don't come from the lineage and you choose to keep, FBAs on the brain and keep speaking about FBAs, your narrow tether ass is getting called out, ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So
how?
Bunch of bullshit.
But it just doesn't make any sense. But what should I be ashamed of? I don't. Motherfuckers will talk this shit. But
if you're gonna have, you had people who reacted, who called Godfree a tether. You've had people who said.
I'm about to land soon, family. I'm building up to a timestamp that I'm looking for. I'm just letting it play. I'm patiently slow cooking.
Who went the other way and was like, oh, you always, if you're on the internet and you think it's real life, you're bugging.
It's not.
So
it's not. But,
you're wilding out if you even think that somebody gives a fuck. Not only that, but if you're creating content, what you do is whatever controversy it is, that's what you jump on. Most motherfuckers don't give a fuck about nothing they're talking about. What I'm saying to you is the same thing. Wait a minute.
And that David Ayala, on the last video where I was exposing, Godflee's tether ass, he tried to run interference for that David Ayala, who ain't nothing more than a fleeing tether himself, who played Bass Reeves, without, any ties to our lineage over here on American soil as foundational Black Americans, and he said, we got subservient, talking as FBAs coming from the South, this, that, and the other, and Godfree tried to say he didn't mean it. That tether David Ayala, meant every word he said, and he got the nerve, the gall, and the audacity to be sitting up trying to play our iconic, FBA brother Bass Reeves. Damn that. These white supremacists, try to flood the zone, on the big screen with these damn tethers, because they know that they don't share, our same lineage and bloodline. So they don't bring that element of, power and resistance to the character. You know what I mean? They want everything to be diluted. But, this is why we delineate and representing our FBA lineage. It's a direct resistance, to that, that they trying to push.
Let me finish. The same thing that Cardi B said. She said, without African Americans, there would be no Haitian immigrants. There would be no Caribbean immigrants. The civil rights movement was built by African Americans.
Cardi B was, true, right, and exact in saying that, but I wish they stopped using that outdated term, to identify us, foundational Black Americans, being African American. We done buried that term. It's a dead brand. You know what I mean? Too many people could lay claim to that, African American term. You know what I mean? We've identified our lineage as being foundational, so I just wish they, tighten up the lingo in that regard, because they look a little bit outdated, using that, even though Cardi B was true, right, and exact with what she said.
But as African Americans, you do want to be acknowledged for what you did, but you have immigrants who have come here and not even.
Oh, really? Says Cardi B is a pandering tether. Yeah, but if somebody says something, that's powerful, and I don't gotta, necessarily agree with them, but I don't like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'll find power in something that, somebody that I don't even like. If I could take something, for instance, I was in placement, as a kid, I used to, get in a little bit of trouble. I don't like to, talk and, big up, being in the street life and things like that. But I was in placement, and I had a FBA brother there, who was one of the staff members, but he would tell us, for instance, you can get, even if you don't like the person, just take away whatever you could pull out the message. And I've always been taught that, I could pull something out of, any messaging, but let's continue.
Been given the credit for how the history, it is just the history.
Because I give props to all those African Americans.
No,
these new niggas,
first of all,
there's Haitian dudes who are third and fourth generation who ain't doing shit either, hustling, doing drugs and everything. As you become,
they try to attach that negative stigma to tether class and say, foundational Black Americans is thugs, criminals, and thieves. They got degeneracy in their homeland that they try to scapegoat and negate. You know what I mean? They got people running scams and finesses, cutthroat to one another. They got a gazillion tribes, you know what I mean, knocking each other upside the head, and that's why they can't get on code, and they got the, the white supremacists and the agent coming over there and running roughshod, exploiting all the resources, but they'll never in a million years touch none of that and talk about that.
Americanized,
and I critique them too.
I don't know why you think it's better.
First of all, I grew up in America.
It's so funny. That's that tether talking point that Godfrey always tried to get off. He always tried to get off, rather. And I just wanted to let the video build up to this point. Godfrey thinks that since he grew up in Chicago, or somebody that's, a tether from somewhere else, comes over here and grows up in, Michigan, you name it, that makes him a foundational Black American. That don't make him a foundational Black American. That just, makes them, a anchor baby, somebody that got anchored here, which Godfrey is. Godfrey ain't no foundational Black American, but he tried to speak it, speak in a way in which, he thinks in his own mind, just because, he came from Chicago, he had FBA friends, and he grew up around FBAs, that makes him FBA. That don't make him FBA. Godfrey ain't nothing more than a cosplaying tether whose parents couldn't cut it in his homeland and anchored him over here to U.S. soil.
Because my friends that grew up with me sending me messages going, Godfrey, you American, man. You grew up with us. My friends were mainly Black Americans.
I don't give a damn what your friends, said, and I ain't buying that they told you that you one of us. You ain't like us. You know what I mean? You come from a failure and fleeing, background. You don't stand on no business. Neither does your parents. You don't get to claim the lineage of riders, who built something over here on American soil. Never ran, never fled, never will.
Mississippi, Kentucky, I played baseball, basketball, football with Black Americans. Always rolled with them. I had
He thinks in his own mind, because he went to school with foundational Black Americans, he might have been on this team, that team, it makes him FBA. That don't make you FBA.
African friends, but I rolled with black people.
Just like if I move and, you know, go over to Africa, which I wouldn't do, and live over there in Africa, you know what I mean? That don't, you know, make me African, you know what I mean? I'm not them over there, you know what I mean?
And so when I taught, and then when I took the time in college being discriminated against at a university of 40-something thousand, only 800 black, and all I was around was black fraternities. My girlfriends were black, blah, blah, blah. And then we had a black African-American studies group.
But we as foundational Black Americans, we accept everybody, but we all we saying is respect our unique lineage, you know, our ethnic group as foundational Black Americans, being of the soil. Stop trying to twine and intermix our stuff in with being some generic Africans, you know. We'll be cool with you and down with you. All we saying is respect our lineage, you know, respect the ethnogenesis. But let's continue.
We started reading black books about African history, and then I got these bozos on here talking about I'm a tether. Who the fuck are you talking to?
You are a cosplaying tether though, Godfrey, because all you do on that 154 Africa podcast and everything I see you on is talk about FBA business and issues. You know, focus over there what's going on in the continent of Africa. Nigeria, I'm sure they could use your you know, they could use your voice of advocacy. You know, we FBAs don't need it. You know, anything regarding FBA society, you know, we clearing that up on the Black FBA grassroots. We advocating for our own people. We need no failure of a tether, you know, speaking, you know, up for us in any capacity.
You don't even read half the books that I fucking read. You've not even met them.
I want to know what his point.
Godflee's tether ass got a, you know, a level of disdain because we FBA's delineated and he can't find himself amongst us no more. You know, that's why his eyes is getting more beadier, because he knows in his own mind that he don't come from the lineage of riders, you know, who fought with resistance over here on American soil. You know, so he wants to lay claim to that, and the fact that we FBAs, you know, have delineated and ain't letting him, you know, come to the cookout no more. That's why he's mad, frustrated, and disgruntled.
But he hasn't even, motherfuckers haven't met who I've met. Stokely Carmichael, no, he's from Trinidad.
Stokely Carmichael wasn't nothing more than a foreign fleeing tether. You know what I mean? When the going got tough over here on U.S. soil, he put on his flip-flops and got the hell up out of Dodge. He tried to use Stokely Carmichael as if that's a flex.
And he created SNCC. He sacrificed his life to speak up for Black Americans
and foundational Black Americans. We don't need his tether ass speaking up for us. We laid the groundwork and built the infrastructure for Stokely Carmichael's foreign fleeing ass to come over here to American soil. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for our FBA ancestors, he wouldn't even, you know, had a lane over here. But let's continue.
Black people. He's from fucking Trinidad. No, Marcus Garvey from Jamaica.
Marcus Garvey wasn't nothing but a fat foreign fleeing tether, you know, who failed in Jamaica, and he didn't get nothing popping, you know, and he until he came around the FBA rider class, you know, and that's only when he started to gain some traction and upward mobility. He didn't do a damn thing in Jamaica. That's because he wasn't nothing but a fat foreign fleeing tether.
Shirley Chisholm is Bahamian.
And Shirley Chisholm was a tether too. She wasn't worth a damn.
You got all these Caribbean.
This is tether talking points, you know, for them to try to rewrite our story and find themselves amongst our story, you know. You just weren't here at the foundation, and that is what it is. You can cry and whine and try to rewrite history, and you can't try to dilute our lineage no more, because the FBA delineation movement that we got going on and this new FBA renaissance, that's clearing up a lot of the, you know, a lot of the dirt that was around, you know, and getting things up out of our myths.
That are legendary, part of the movement, and these modern day Negroes who can't.
Yeah, but in closing, family, Godflee's tether ass, his eyes is getting more beadier and beadier, and he ain't nothing but a cosplaying tether whose parents were failures over there in Nigeria and anchored his tether ass over here to American soil, and he ought to be kissing the ground FBA's walk on. You know, we don't need him being advocate, you know, to our lineage in no capacity. I don't like the tone he took with that FBA sister anyway, you know. So Godfrey, his narrow tether ass forevermore is going to be on my chopping block. You know, I got him in my crosshairs, and I ain't letting up. You know, so Godfrey could move or get moved, because either way, this FBA freight train coming through, you know. So yeah, family, I just wanted to tap in with y'all right quick, you know, and I want to, you know, I'm about to get off of here. I want to tell y'all, enjoy your weekend, stay safe, you know, and protect yourselves, you know, because there's a lot of, you know, white supremacy going on out there, you know what I mean? And just make sure you're aware of all your where you're at, your surroundings, you know what I mean? And be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. I'm out of here, and thanks to the family who, you know, rocked and tapped out with me, and you know, FBA salute. Peace and power, family. I'm out.